deadly light and kill the world below. He just flies the bomber, he never sees their eyes when the hell comes down. He just flies the bomber. Back aboard the shuttle, there'll be time enough to think what they've done. They'll find their antiseptic war won't leave them with the place that they can run. Nowhere to run. There's no deep, untroubled sleep for one with such a debt. And guilt alone will not atone, nor let a soul forget. Those cries and screams, they're not just dreams, imagination's lies. Goddamn the whore, the bitch you whore, you killers from the skies. He just flies the bomber, he never sees their eyes when the hell comes down. He just flies the bomber.
Will you do me a favor, piano man, please? I want you to write me a
song. They call me the hero of Antelope's Run, and I've gotta show them they're wrong. You see, it all started a week ago in the bar down on Corridor 3.
There was nobody there but us regular bums, two losers, the barman and me.
Welcome to Children of a Dead Earth, a game where, as you may have seen me describe, we are going to be using orbital mechanics to toss nuclear weapons around. And one of the core parts of that is first understand. First, we're going to run through some introductory missions to give you a familiarity with how this works. Because, well, to put it bluntly, orbital mechanics are hard, and it'll probably help everyone here to have an explanation of how this all works. A simple version is, so you know how a craft orbits a planet, and how you can influence that orbit to change your trajectory. So one of the crucial parts of this is you have to take your own orbit, and you have to take your orbit match somebody else's orbit, but not the entire orbit. You don't have to make their orbit match the entire. No, you have to meet them at a certain point in their orbit. It's essentially a lot of math involved. However, this game does a fantastic job of giving you visual tools to see how it works. And I think it'll be even better than just talking about it to show you what I mean using the introductory tutorial. As you can probably see, I have played this game a fair bit, but I still have yet to finish these last two missions. Mostly because I've actually optimized the shit out of this game's ship design. But the last two missions don't let you use your own ships. Instead, you have to take the ship the game tells you to take, which sucks because the ship the game wants you to use is a piece of shit. It's the best it's basically the best stock ship in the game, but it's so easy to make something better that it's not even worth talking about. To be fair, the ships that are shown here are much more conservative. They're much more feasible with current day engineering, while many of the ships that I have built are very much using still feasible physics, but take advantage of some exotic materials that are part of community materials packs that, frankly, if you're going to play this game, you should download, because they add so many options to what you're able to do here. So let's start by going to the moon and answering this distress call, seeing who this person that's trapped down there is, seeing who this person that's trapped in orbit is, and what we can do to help him out, sir. What do you say? I took the comm and the engineer boards, and Molly took helm and the nav. Over the and her mind for what they didn't have. So, our basic hello there, Vic. How are you doing tonight? And yes, I've already got this ready for you to go. Ada, ada. Absolutely. Now, one thing I will say, this game does not have any of like the fancy sci-fi stuff like faster than light travel or anything like that. Everything you're doing is real time with, again, feasibly understood physics. So exotic, but not some of the propulsion in this game is exotic, but none of it is beyond the realm of possibility. Even if some of it is modeled somewhat crudely due to the limitations of the game, systems like the Zubrin nuclear saltwater rocket are ideas that aren't even that new. These are engines that were designed and theorized in the 1960s and 1970s. But the Zubrin rocket is a bit of a reach, so we won't be using any of those until we've at least made a decent amount of progress, and even then, it'll just be to show them off, rather than because we actually need them. But anyways, like I said, let us begin. Our fleet consists of a single methane depot, a station which cannot move and has been placed in its orbit by some other craft that is no longer here, a methane tanker which we will have to use deliver the methane fuel that this cargo freighter needs after suffering a total fuel loss. We don't know what caused that fuel loss. All we know is they've patched the tanks, but they need fuel. So we have to go up there and deliver it to them. Begin. They're heroes on purpose and bold. Heroes become because all is lost, but nobody grows like Molly and Jed, who give without counting the cost. So as you can see here, the methane depot, as you can see, we can move this around, we can rotate the camera, all of that. None of that's particularly important. This tutorial is sadly something that we can't get away from, so we are going to have to sit here and deal with all of it. A little annoying, but we'll live. Zoom in and out with the mouse wheel. Okay, yes, I know how that works. Hold on. And the camera, blah, blah. Yes, like that. Roll the camera. Middle mouse button. Oh, I did not realize you could do that. That's actually really handy. So this mission is very simple, but in the future, we will also be doing missions where our orbital planes don't match up, and being able to roll the camera like that will actually help us out with getting our orientation right. Figure out what the hell we're actually doing. Okay, so let's do a little wandering around this planetary system. Earth. Select it, focus the camera, and we very quickly see why this game is called Children of a Dead Earth. Because Earth should not look like that. There's a bit of history in this game about how this happened, why Earth is brown. So Earth was lost in the last Great War, where it's not a nuclear apocalypse, it's much weirder than that. Instead, little reason to interact with the Earth right now, because the Earth is dead, nobody lives there anymore. Go, reselect that. Luna. Reselect the moon, because everybody that lives in that area is on the moon now. Close that, because that just for messages. Okay, select the fleet indicated by the diamond. As we can see, the cargo freighter has no delta V. But you might be asking, what is delta V? I understand how that might be a an issue for several of you. So, I guess we should explain what delta V is. That means we're not actually going to pull up MS Paint, but you have to understand something about orbit. Orbit is a concept. The fact you are able to orbit a body in space is a factor of velocity. However, and delta V refers to your capacity to change that velocity. So, right now we are traveling at a set velocity around the moon. However, that means that we are trapped in a specific orbit, and if we want to change that orbit, we will have to apply some kind of acceleration. The amount of acceleration that we can apply is listed as delta V, which is measured in meters per second, because that's how much we're changing. It's basically, like I said, a change in our velocity. So let's say that we're traveling in an orbit where our orbital velocity, which is, for lack of a better term, which is our linear velocity around this circular course, or elliptical in most cases, around our circular course is, let's just say, random number, 1500 meters per second. That's our current orbital velocity. However, let's say we want to get here. Because this orbit is lower, in order to maintain the orbit, our velocity would have to be higher. To increase that velocity, we would first need to create a course that change our orbital velocity in such a way that we need to change our trajectory in such a way that instead of this wider orbit, we actually come down here and we travel at a higher velocity. What I'm trying to say, our orbit is currently circular. In order to get to this lower orbit, we would first need to make our orbit elliptical, which would accelerate us to the point where down here we are still maintaining a stable orbit. However, in order to get to that point, we would need, and once we are there, we would apply a second acceleration to increase our velocity overall, or rather increase, but it is actually a decrease. Higher orbits have higher energy applied to them. Orbital mechanics is hard. I don't remember the exact numbers here going on. I'm just throwing out arbitrary numbers for illustrative purposes. But you get the idea. We would need to accelerate down into that orbit, and then once part of our orbit is down in that orbit, we would need to adjust the rest of the orbit to match. As you see here, we have a methane depot and a methane tanker. Tanker has 14.8 kilometers a second of delta V, which is a fair bit. However, just to be safe, we're going to use the methane depot here to refuel it. Do that by going to the methane depot, selecting its refueler system, and then letting that increase delta V of the tanker. However, fortunately for us, we don't have to sit here and wait while propellant is transferred from the depot to the tanker. Instead, once we leave this close-up view of the fleet, what we'll see is that process will be completed automatically and time will advance accordingly. So what we do instead is, just like that, separate the large methane tanker from the depot so that it can be controlled separately, and then begin to adjust our course. Run turn. We're going to set this to 1 minute to make sure that it doesn't burn through all of our time, because we do have a time limit. Good. Now we're going to make it 6 hours because the game makes us make it 6 hours and will bitch at us if we try and skip ahead. One of my little complaints about this game, but whatever. We run another turn, and as we see, time has passed, our orbits have adjusted. So, back to 1 hour, tanker, select the tanker. Now we begin our burns. Burns are a term for, hello there, partner, how are you doing tonight? Burns are a general term for operating engines to adjust our orbit. For example, one thing we could do is go here. One thing, there are 3 adjustments we can make according to this trajectory that we can see on this trajectory line. Here, select. That brings us, this blue line here represents time. If we move along this blue line, you can see how that other fleet, how our 2 fleets, the methane tanker and the cargo freighter that we have to reach, move relative to each other. That shows where that shows us where they will be, where their positions will be relative to each other at this time. 2 thrust handles out of plane burns, so these will be useful later. Let me show you what this does. As we adjust this handle, it adjusts the plane of our orbit. However, it can only go so far before, instead of changing the plane of our orbit, it instead throws us free from the moon's orbit. Instead, what we need to do after a certain point is use the tangential adjustment, increase the plane of our orbit, and then work the 2 together to say, if we wanted to reach an orbit like this, an orbit with this sort of inclination, work the tangential and out of plane burns with each other until we have reached a 90-degree inclination. However, we will not be needing to do that here. Instead, so what we'll do is cancel that burn because it hasn't happened yet, and instead we will go to the radial burn to demonstrate what they do. Radial burns push us inwards and outward relative to our orbit. Push our orbit inwards and outwards. These are very, very intensive maneuvers that use a lot of delta V. However, in many cases, they are also the way to get the fastest intercept, particularly when using missiles. This will give us the shortest time to intercept, which means that we're able to immediately engage a target, which in some cases might be important, particularly if they have already opened fire on us and we are sending missiles to intercept their own missiles. We are sending our own missiles to intercept their missiles. We want to make sure, in that situation, we want to make sure our missiles intercept their missiles before their missiles intercept us. Thrust handle, okay. I think I should just do this. Go here. Go here. Because I know what I want here. Yes, this is what we want. Because while I'm explaining this stuff, I just have to have this music playing. It just fits so well. Like, but why? But anyways, like you see, that's what radial maneuvers do. Tangential burns, on the other hand, are used to widen and tighten your orbit. So one thing we're going to do first is realign our burn selection to be at the 0 marker, with our burn not happening in the future. Then we'll also make a consideration for this, see what happens as a result. As our burns appear on the left, our burns show up there on the left. That shows us how much delta V this particular burn will use. What we need to do is pay attention to that delta V and then compare that expenditure of delta V to how much delta V we have available. This number down here is based on the lowest delta V craft in the fleet, as sometimes you will have mixed fleets of craft with differing amounts of delta V. But as you can see here, this is a good maneuver. It only uses 200 meters a second of delta V out of 22 kilometers per second, less than 1% of our available delta V. This is a fantastic option for what we want to do here. So this is what we'll do. However, there is one final maneuver we'll have to make, essentially a finalizing maneuver that I could theoretically perform manually, but in almost every case, it's better just to let the system automatically compute it. Here we go join, and we see that a series of smaller, shorter burns for final alignment happen until we join the cargo freighter in its orbit. Now, let's see what happens. Who do you love? No, I want to click that again. Tanker. Cancel that. Match orbit. We've matched the orbit. I don't know why it's making me do this the long way. I figured out how we're going to get this orbit in position. Why are you making me do it this way, game? I swear, this is why I hate some of these tutorials. It's like, I understand that you want to have this tutorial here, and I'm using it as an explanation, but at the same time, I have to admit, I have my own little frustrations with how this game will behave in terms of, you know, making me go through the long steps the tutorial demands. Actually, no, I won't match, or I will not match the orbit. I will do what I was doing anyways. By Allah, you are dogs. I will continue as usual. You see there, we have now matched our orbits. We can now go into here, inspect fleet, activate the refuelers on the tanker, and as a result, we will have successfully refueled this ship down here. However, the game doesn't know that because the game is stupid, which means we will have to manually quit out of this one. That's fine though, because now we can actually get onto the part of the game that doesn't force us into things. This will also be another tutorial mission, and it's essentially just a quick intercept, but let's go take care of it real quickly. First of all, let me congratulate you on your getting through your first mission. Just in time, too, because we've got our first combat mission for you. Don't be concerned. The firepower that we will provide you with vastly outmatches the enemies, and your tactical officer will similarly provide help from time to time. A few days ago, a small combat vessel belonging to United Soul Trade Alliance allegedly went rogue around Ganymede and attacked one of our cargo freighters. The USTA have disavowed any support for such an act, but the rest of us at the Republic High Command disbelieve such a claim. In all likelihood, this is yet another provocation ordered directly from the USTA headquarters itself. We're going to be spinning this story as firmly placing the blame on the USTA. But that's our concern. Your only concern is to eliminate this rogue craft. Ganymede is jointly controlled by us, the USTA, and nearly every other faction in the entire solar system. We have a warship in orbit around Ganymede as well. Take it and tear the enemy craft to pieces. Its weapons vastly outrange the enemy's weapons, so a combat encounter should be a foregone conclusion. Simply make the orbital intercept, enter combat with the enemy ship, and your crew should handle the rest. Your opponent for this mission is USF Captain Jake Charon, a USF captain with a known history of poorly made decisions and rash aggression. He is best known for playing a minor role in the USTA's takeover of Enceladus as the designated civilian craft disabler. And now you're about to see a mission that demonstrates some of the realities of space combat and why space combat kind of sucks. So this is actually a very bad ship compared to many of the ships that I have designed in this game, because again, I have optimized the shit out of this game. But let me show you what we're working with. This is the patrol ship. It has a single methane-powered nuclear thermal rocket. But what is a nuclear thermal rocket, you might be asking? Well, that's actually quite a simple thing. Let me just pull this up again. So a nuclear thermal rocket a rocket engine performs a very simple operation. It takes some type of substance and uses it to generate a very high pressure high pressure gas. This hot high pressure gas is then allowed to escape out a single hole. Once it gets through that hole, it rapidly expands, and the force of the expansion is what provides thrust. However, there are multiple ways of doing this. The simplest and most well understood is the chemical rocket. The chemical rocket works by triggering a chemical reaction, essentially burning. As the fuel burns, it forms hot gases, which then build up pressure inside the combustion chamber. The combustion chamber, in turn, then has a hole that leads out into the nozzle. The nozzle is designed to regulate this expansion of gas to drive it in a single direction, and as a result, create thrust. However, this is not a very efficient way of creating thrust. Instead, if you have the ability to, it is more efficient to use a nuclear reactor to heat a substance until it boils, and then by directing that boiling substance once again through a pressure chamber with a single escape hole and a well-designed nozzle, you can generate thrust far more efficiently than any combustion rocket. However, even the nuclear thermal rocket is not the most efficient form of propulsion. For pure efficiency, the ideal option is actually another type of engine that we will quickly deviate from the campaign to demonstrate. That is the magnetoplasmodynamic thruster, also known as the ion engine. There is, however, a problem with the ion engine. The ion engine has incredibly low thrust, especially considering the amount of power necessary to make such an engine work. This engine here, for example, only produces 8.65 kilonewtons of thrust. Now, in many ways, this would be a respectable amount of thrust if it wasn't for the fact that this engine also required, and wait until you see this part. Where is it? 55 megawatts of power supplied to it just to make it start. On top of that, it is also powered by an extremely expensive fuel. It uses an extremely expensive propellant, xenon gas. So this is actually, in many ways, a very poor design for this sort of engine. Instead, you're more likely to see are engines like these. 10.6 kilometers per second refers to the velocity of the exhaust, a function of which is a measure of the engine's efficiency. This engine produces 1.79 kilonewtons of thrust with an exhaust velocity of 10.6 kilometers a second. As a general rule, you will often have to trade thrust for exhaust velocity. However, that's only a rule of thumb. There are many very, very interesting exceptions to that rule, some of which we'll come back to later. The most notable being the Zubrin nuclear saltwater rocket. But for now, return to our previous situation, where we see ship, not this one, where we have a ship, where we were looking before at our patrol craft. The patrol ship has a nuclear thermal rocket, 3 60mm cannons, and then 3 railguns. Each of those railguns draws 13 megawatts of power to fire a projectile of, let me go check actually. I keep coming back to it. I keep coming back to this. I keep going back and forth. I need to stop doing that. Stick with this music. We're going to be explaining a lot of things. There's no reason to stay going with this music, to switch the music back and forth. Just explain what you're talking about. It'll be fine. But anyways, like I said before, this railgun is not what you're probably not what you're going to be expecting, because I'm going to guess that, like most people, when you hear railgun, your first thought is a weapon that fires a relatively large slug, a single relatively large slug, to inflict enormous damage on a target. However, due to the distance involved in base combat, this is not viable. Instead, what you will do instead is take ship design. No, not ship design. Yes, we will go here first. We want to find this ship. Confirm the model. Ignore all of these. We'll come back to them later. Roll ship. View. Which one is it? The 13 megawatt 11mm auto fire railgun. This fires an 11mm projectile. And go here and find. Again, ignore all of these. We'll come back to them later. This is the weapon in question. You see how it seems to be firing almost like a laser beam? It's not. That is a stream of projectile tracers. And it just happens to be that they are being fired at such a high rate that it looks like a solid beam. Look here, we can actually see its rate of fire. 69 milliseconds. So it takes... Thank you for the follow! Holy shit, that startled me. I swear to God, every time I hear that noise, it startles the shit out of me. Hey, it's playtime. Can I just say, I love that name. I love that name so much. And Yen, thank you for the follow. Hey, it's playtime. It's nice to have you here. But as I was saying, here, this has a reload time of 69 milliseconds. However, that is not a particularly number to describe a rate of fire. So what we'll do instead is figure out how many times we will translate that from 69 milliseconds to rounds per minute. This is a relatively simple operation. First thing we do is actually, it's a simple operation once I can remember how to do it, and that's the problem. I've got to remember how the fuck you do this. I've done this before. So the easiest way to do it is actually do it backwards first, and then we'll do it from there. So let's say we have a gun that fires 500 rounds per minute. We're going to use that as our baseline because it's a relatively simple number to work with. That means it fires 500 rounds per minute. We divide that by 60 to get how many rounds per second it fires, which is 8.33, 8 1/3. We can then take this, that is rounds per second, and we can figure out, and then we divide seconds by that. So 1 over 8.33333 gives us 120 milliseconds. That's the reload time for a gun that fires 500 rounds per minute. So if instead we take this, we do this backwards, so 1.1 over 0.12 gives us 8.33333. We can then multiply that by 60, and we get 500. So what we'll do instead here is divide 1 over 0.069, because remember, 69 millisecond, because 0.1 of a second is 100 milliseconds. And hey, and playtime, this is Children of a Dead Earth, a hard sci-fi space combat game that is incredibly interesting because of how it uses, how it basically teaches you to use, not only to use orbital mechanics, but it also teaches you how to design your own spaceships and weapons, or at least gives you an idea, or at least it doesn't tell you how to do it. It gives you materials and designs and forces you to learn. Now, I don't know how feasible any of these designs would be in real life, as the game simply takes a very abstract approach to how supporting equipment is modeled, but it gives you an idea, a vague idea of what a weapon of this type, or an engine of this type, or any of these other pieces of equipment. It lets you approximate how they would perform, and as a result, gives you an idea of what war in space would realistically be like. I am not sufficiently qualified to comment on how close some of these details get to reality, but I do talk to people that are, and some of them say that while, again, it misses a lot of the details, it does a great job of translating realistic space combat into a game, which it is really complex. It's really complex. It's an absolute bastard of a game to figure out, and I can understand how it can be intimidating, but at the same time, once you get things working, once you understand how some of these terms work, how some of these ideas work, you can make some hilarious shit. For example, this basic railgun, we were doing the math for this. So 1 over 0.69 times 60 gives us a fire rate of about 870 rounds per minute. Each of those rounds travels at 6.74 kilometers per second. 6.47 kilometers per second. A fairly respectable velocity, but it is worth noting, all of the stock modules in this game aren't that good, relatively speaking. It is very, very easy to design modules that are vastly superior to what's present in the stock. In fact, I will show some of what I've designed for you right here. I'll start, in fact, with one of my fundamental weapons, the Vulcan. The Vulcan is a railgun that fires at the same rate as the other railgun we were looking at just now. However, unlike that railgun, which had a velocity of 6.47 kilometers per second, this has a muzzle velocity of 29 kilometers per second. This is actually a trend you will notice. Oh shit! Hey there, Kogasa! How are you doing tonight? Thanks for the raid! I know what you were doing, but... Actually, no. Yes, but let's just show everybody. Tabletop RPGs. Yes, you were translating today, weren't you, Kogasa? Specifically, it was a, what was it called? What was the name of the system called again? I can't remember. Hey there, Drag Free. How are you doing tonight? What was the name of the system you were translating called? It looked interesting. Even though you were kind of dying when I was watching you, like you were kind of dying because apparently Skynauts of the Gear Towers. So what is it about? Because by the time I jumped in on, oh, that's cool actually. That's actually kind of cool. Airships and steampunk systems like that are always fun to see when somebody makes one of those, especially if it's a particularly good one. It's really easy to make one that's not good, but make Skynauts who explore the unknown skies with an airship. Oh, you know what that sounds like? Kogasa. It's a game I haven't had the chance to play, but let me see if I can remember the name of it. I'm gonna have to do a little bit of an end around to remember this name. What the hell was it? It's a pirate game, and I'm trying to remember what the hell it was called. There's a pirate TTR. There's a tabletop RPG about pirates that is, oh, Kogasa. Remember, if you need to take a break, it's always okay to take a break. In fact, sometimes, even if you love doing something, stepping away from it, you need sugar. Oh, are you feeling lightheaded? Are you feeling like you're about to pass out? Is that why you need sugar? Oh, I don't know the lyrics to this song. I really don't know the lyrics to the song. By the way, if you want to know what's currently playing in the background, that is an album called Carmen Miranda's Ghost. The song in question is called Space Hero. It is a collection of music by, that's the thing, I can't remember the name of it, Kogasa, because there's another pirate tabletop RPG that's bad, and that's the one that's name is stuck in my head right now. And it's called Poisoned. But that is the bad game. Poisoned is a very bad game. Let's just get that part out of the way. But no, what we're currently listening to is, like I said, it's from an album called Carmen Miranda's Ghost by Leslie Fish. The song in particular is called Space Hero, and if you would like to listen to it, let's listen to it and the rest of the album, you can find it here. It is an excellent album altogether. Also, Playtime, I see you were looking for socials. My other socials. What you actually want to look at is this. There we go. That is my Twitter for you. I know it's probably not the usual command that most people use, so I should probably fix that at some point, but oh well. Anyways, where were we? Yes, we were talking about how easy it is to make components that are better than the ones in the game by default. And this is just one example. I will once again say, I am not entirely sure how feasible this would be to build, but it is very much a case of, it works in theory, and that is a lot of how this game works. A lot of what you're designing in this game is stuff that, once again, kind of falls into the realm of, it works in theory, all the science, all the math says this should work. It's just it's a problem of engineering. Yeah, and especially for a game like this, where a lot of the supporting equipment and fine details of how something would work are abstracted, that's probably sufficient. Especially because there are certain things in this game where if they were modeled more accurately, the developers would get a knock on their door by very nice men in dark suits with sunglasses and dark suits. One of those being your primary weapon in space, nukes. Because yes, this game lets you design your own nuclear warheads. But once again, they have to use a fairly primitive design because any more advanced nuclear warhead would get them in big trouble. Because you're not supposed to be able, because even if you know how a certain type of nuclear weapon works, you are not allowed to tell people unless they have also signed the same paperwork you have. A perfect example of this is the Teller-Ulam device. None of the nuclear warheads in this game are Teller-Ulam devices. Even though that is the standard type, even though every modern nuclear warhead in the world is a Teller-Ulam device. None of the nuclear weapons in this game are Teller-Ulam devices, because the developer would get in big trouble if in any way they showed players how to design a Teller-Ulam device. If they even had the math that governs how a Teller-Ulam device works in this game, they would get in big trouble. So instead, we have to settle for a relatively basic design, which is a spherical implosion system, which is a spherical implosion unit. It's a linear implosion device, because that part is perfectly legal to tell because it is such an old design that everyone knows how to make it. Everyone that you would be afraid of you would be worried about if they learned how to make a nuclear weapon already knows how to make a linear implosion device. The magic is the second half, where if instead of just using nuclear fission to power your weapon, you also use nuclear fusion. So instead of a new Teller-Ulam device, this uses the much more primitive Sloika design, where instead of having a secondary element that performs the fusion operation, the hollow center of the nuclear weapon is filled with fusion fuel, which is then compressed and ignited by the fission reaction. Because this is as close as you can get to a nuclear fusion warhead without the FBI knocking at your door. Or worse. So, back to what we were doing before. Campaign, we were about to go from that deviation, we're about to go and do do a little interception. This ship that we've been given right now is that patrol craft, and we have to intercept a laser skiff. The laser skiff is armed with the same cannons as us, but instead of the railguns, it has more of them. And instead of the railguns, it's armed with 8 green laser mounts. All of these mounts, now there's the thing, you notice how it says laser mount? That is an important distinction, because rather than having each of those be its own separate laser, what can happen is you might have a smaller number of laser generators inside the ship, and then a system of pipes, of optical pipes, that then feed whichever laser has the best sight on your target. So let's say you have 8 mounts and 1 laser generator, and then these are all linked up with optical pipes. Let's say this laser can see the target best. This is the laser that would be firing. However, because you only have 1 laser generator, none of the other laser mounts can fire. Only this one. What we're going to do is we're going to keep all that in mind. We're going to take our orbit.
Incoming transmission.
I know their orbit is elliptical, blah, blah, blah. That's just telling us the fact that, their orbit is not circular, so we have to think about things a little bit differently. What we're going to do to make our lives easier is change our frame of reference. So rather than showing us our movement relative to the moon Ganymede, we're going to see what our movement relative to the enemy ship looks like. Are you ready for some weird spaghetti? Because you're about to see some weird spaghetti. I don't know either. It does this. I don't know why it does that. It's not really that important. Important is now we can take that information and start making our own orbital adjustments until this line intersects with them. Hello you. Thank you for the follow. Who is this? This was Drag Free. I saw you here earlier, Drag Free, with that little. Oh yes, you have the dancing Leica. I love the dancing. I love that emote of hers. It's so cute. It's such a cute emote. But yes, as you can see, now we have adjusted our trajectory. That once we finish this weird little loop, remember, this is just our position relative to this ship. When we change our frame of reference back to Ganymede, you can see what we're actually doing relative to that instead. We have just adjusted our orbit a little bit so that our two orbits meet. And from there, we will be in range to fire off our weapons and kill the enemy ship. Let's see what happens, shall we?
Incoming
Don't you
transmission.
see? Yes, I understand how all this works. Leave me alone. But yes, this just says we can select our own ships. Then we can see what our ranges look like. Then all of your weapons auto-fire by default, though most are on the sides of your ship. So they'll need to be swung around to fire. Get into range, swing your ship into a broadside, and your guns will start blasting. So here, we give the ship the homing order so that it will move to get closer to the enemy ship. Now we can select the enemy ship. We can see the range of its weapons against us. The laser has the longest range. However, our railguns have a longer range than their laser. That means we have a significant range advantage, and we're going to use that to stay outside the range of their lasers and pound them with our railguns. More accurately, I say pound them, it's more like a sandblaster, because we're firing a very lightweight projectile at a very high rate. And many of the weapons in Children of a Dead Earth work that way. In fact, it's one of the most efficient ways to build railguns in particular. Instead of trying to hit your enemy with one big projectile, you fire off a shitload of little ones really fast. And the result is, as they keep getting hit by this stream of projectiles, it burns a hole through their armor until it hits something important. Then, once you hit something important, whatever that important thing you just hit does the rest of the work for you. For example, let's say I were to hit a propellant tank. Or better yet, let's say I hit their reactor. I hit the reactor and burn a hole through the reactor by effectively sandblast a hole through their reactor. That reactor's not going to work anymore. It's going to start spewing out coolant into space, overheat, and they'll have to scram the reactor or it melts down. Either way, they have lost all power generation, and they are now floating dead in the black of space. These, by the way, are not solar panels. These are radiators, because it turns out spaceships get hot, and you need a way to get rid of all that heat. Oh yeah. And one of the ways you would get rid of that heat, typically there are two ways you can get rid of that heat. However, there are three ways you can get rid of that heat: convection, conduction, and radiation. However, two of those don't work in space. Convection and conduction don't work in space, which means that when you're in space, your only option is radiation. So you have to build these big-ass radiators, and radiation is the slowest form of heat transfer, which means that your radiators have to be big. Otherwise, they won't be able to expel enough heat to keep your ship's systems at a safe operating temperature. So obviously what we're going to do is target those radiators and sandblast them off. Just like that. Alright, one of the systems I just did. And now, watch what our ship does. It starts closing in for the kill, and as soon as we get in range for the railguns, you'll see them open fire.
Incoming transmission.
Select our craft now. We are in range, however, we do not have a good firing angle. So what we'll do is tell the ship to swing broadside, which gives those railguns a clear shot. You'll actually see how the ship adjusts its course relative to the enemy ship to make sure that happens. And you can also see here an example of what kind of distances we're looking at. We are currently 40 kilometers away from our target. Means at a rate with a muzzle velocity of 6.47 kilometers per second, it takes somewhere between 3 and 4 seconds for our projectiles to reach their target. Another example of how much of a difference velocity and distance can make. Oh shit. Damn, this really is a bad ship. By the way, what that little lightning bolt right there means is that this ship does not actually have enough power to power its own weapons, which is why you see, instead of a continuous stream of shots, it's doing this sort of interrupted, like, brrr. That is the entire ship firing a shot, shutting down because it runs out of power, powering back up again, and then firing another shot. This ship is garbage. Holy shit. This ship is bad. Also, we can do this. And that really demonstrates what I'm talking about. You see how these are a continuous stream? But you also notice how much longer it takes for them to reach the target? Those are just conventional cannons, firing away at a much lower velocity, but as the trade-off, they don't need power from the ship. Dusk, what you have missed is my explanation of orbital mechanics, or at the very least, my very shitty explanation of orbital mechanics. Basically, me talking about how you get two spaceships orbiting around a planet or moon to meet each other so that they can then proceed to shoot at each other. We will soon be moving along from this. Talk about how, yes, math, brain hurts. Good news is this game does a lot of the math for you. It's kind of nice, actually. It's like how maneuver nodes in KSP mean you don't actually have to write down any of the actual math to figure out how long your burns need to be. Again, that's all taken care of for you. Music real quickly. This will be by the same person, Leslie Fish. However, this is Freefall and Other Delights. Post that here for everybody to enjoy, for everybody who wants to listen to it on their own. Space is wide and the future is long. Space is wide and the future long. Our drive needs rest and the tanks are low. The hydrogen from the giant is strong. Choose your prize from all we know. Space is wide and the future long. Space is wide and the future long. So, that intercept has already happened. We now need to readjust our course to make sure that we can intercept them again. Is wide and the future long. Space is wide and the future long. That is... No, we're not going to do any of that because that would require an enormous amount of Delta V. We're actually just going to let the automatic intercept handle this one for us because we are in such an awkward position. Oh no, Dusk. Why are you pondering the orb again? You know that's not good for your health, right? So, as you can see, rather than any sort of single burn, what the automatic intercept system does here is plots out a series of smaller, shorter burns that bring us back into an intercept course. Once we're back here, railguns will open fire again, and hopefully this time kill the damn ship. Sure of that, we're actually going to do things. Off, we're not going to use any homing so that it throws off decoys. Oh shit, wait. You keep talking about pondering this orb. I never did ask what that means. Or at least if I did, I forgot. But apparently whatever it is has officially released on Steam, so what is it? Pray to great green Mother Earth and the grim old god of space. We pray gods and physics this place. Oh, the gods of flight and physics now. You have us in your care. Oh, won't you listen to a rocket rider's prayer?
So first let's pray to Vulcan, lovely god of flame, and also wise Minerva now.
Glorify your name. May you aid our ship's designers now and find it in your hearts Please help the lowest bidders who've constructed all the parts. Oh, we pay to great green Mother Earth and the grim old god of space, and the gods of fame and metal whom we've summoned to this place. Oh, you gods of flight and physics, now you have us in your care. We hope that you will listen to a rocket rider's prayer. Orb of Creation. The general plot is something up and destroyed everything, leaving just you and an orb. You know what this reminds me of, Dusk, since you mentioned that? This reminds me of another game called The Mountain, I think it was, which is very much, or The Island, where you're just, it's an idle game like that, but where instead of like an orb, you're looking at a mountain that floats, a floating island in the sky. This sounds very similar, and I can't help but imagine that it's possibly even by the same developers. We're gonna have to re-intercept again. Oh boy. No, not Jupiter. Ganymede. We fucked up our orbit. Oh, we're good. Damn, our closure rate is very high. Homing, go! Get us in there. We're gonna kill this motherfucker. But we'd like to stay. So we pray to great green Mother Earth and the grim old god of space, the gods of flame and metal that we've summoned to this place. Okay, we're just missing because we're
Incoming transmission.
in your care. Oh, won't you will listen to a rocket rider's prayer. Yeah, our shots were going way off because we were trying to hit these relatively small targets close to the back of the enemy ship. As a result, we just weren't really able to do anything there. Oh shit, we just knocked out both their radiators. They're fucked now. Go. Get him. Come on. Get the shot in. Oh my god. This is like actually not exciting, but like we're actually hitting something now. This ship is so bad. Holy shit. The fact that they're making us use this ship really makes me
Incoming transmission.
Oh yeah, we took out a lot of their modules. Holy shit. Yep. We're tearing them apart now.
Incoming transmission.
And we have successfully made this enemy ship. We have successfully rendered this enemy ship inactive. Let's see what actually killed it, shall we? Looks like what we managed to do, yep, we blew out the radiators and it wasn't able to stay cool. And as a result, its reactor has overheated. And they had to scram it. Kind of what I expected to happen. That's one of the easiest ways to kill a ship in this game. But, hey, results are results. Back. Okay. Record 2 hours and 38. How the hell did somebody do this in 2 hours 38? Well, not 2 hours 38 real time. I know that because time in this game, unless you're in combat, time works off of sort of a turn-based system. But whatever. Next mission. Let's see what we have here. Destroy a dangerous enemy ship that is an out-of-plane orbit around Mercury. Given your performance last month, we at High Command think that you're ready for your first dangerous encounter. Just in time, too. After you wrecked the USTA's rogue spacecraft around Ganymede, we just saw a spike in aggressive USTA activity, especially around the belt. In particular, they had a warship patrolling the belt when they received word of us destroying their rogue spacecraft. Shortly thereafter, they diverted that spacecraft to Mercury. Jointly controlled by us and another faction, Mercury is rather important for our tactical operations. Nor ordinarily, we'd send numerous threats and warnings for the USTA to not violate our orbital space, perhaps hitting them with trade sanctions. But actually making good on those threats wouldn't be worth it to us. Here's the issue, however. With tensions rising over property rights with the United Soul Trade Alliance these past few years, and with their aggression at Ganymede, we've started to do a lot of things we might not normally do. In particular, we threaten destruction of their ship if they violate our orbital space, which they have. So we're going to make good on that promise. You're going to destroy that ship. Mercury is jointly controlled by our faction and the Iroquois Resurgence, a faction with a pretty shaky history with the USTA. And we at High Command were all too happy to take advantage of that fact. We've cut a deal with them, and they agreed to close down all spaceports at Mercury in exchange for allowing them limited use of our solar-wide propellant depot infrastructure. Right now, the enemy warship is orbiting around Mercury, unable to dock or land to refuel, making it a sitting duck, perfect for us to tear apart. We have a small carrier in orbit around Mercury, which you will use to convert the USTA ship into scrap metal. Ignore their warnings of retaliation, any attempts to surrender, and their protests of Mercury orbital space being a neutral zone. Their ship is quite powerful, especially at gun range. The opportunity to annihilate it while it is low on Delta V far outweighs the consequences. On that note, I recommend you keep your ship out of range, because the coil gun they have mounted on that ship both outranges your own weapons and is extremely powerful. The ship itself is commanded by USF Captain Alexander Joe, a captain with no live combat experience. Regardless of this history, do not expect him to hold back once you enter range. You'll need to be quick about destroying their ship, however. USTA has reinforcements en route from the asteroid belt, and we estimate that we have about 15 days before we have to call off the attack, lest we be forced to engage with a stronger enemy force with actual Delta V. So, basically, we have to go and knock this thing out of the sky before about 15 days from now, its buddies show up, and we have to fight them too. What we're doing here is essentially, so this ship has no Delta V. It is dead, and it has very minimal Delta V. Just barely enough to get in a position to dock with a station to get fuel. You know, it just might be a war crime, Kogasa. It just might be a war crime. I don't know. That's not my job. My job is to commit the war crime. My job is not to ask whether or not something is a war crime. My job is to commit the war crime. And so this is what we're going up against. A Corvette, which has 4 large coil guns, as well as several of those same auto-fire railguns that were on the patrol craft we were using previously. We, escort carrier. This is a ship that's on its own weapons are fairly pathetic. With, you know, a few small railguns. However, what it does have is in the name, carrier. It carries a set of launch bays for drones. And each of those drones has a gun on the nose. Our job is to get those drones close enough to the Corvette to kill it. Because at the end of the day, if they shoot down a drone, that's not our problem. Drones are expendable. Let us begin.
Incoming transmission.
For this mission, I recommend launching... Yes, I know, we're going to launch drones. Stable help, go away. I know what I'm doing. Done this before. So you see here the orbit they're on relative to our own. What we're going to do, first step, going to select the carrier. And we are in orbit. Mercury. We are not going to intercept this fleet with our carrier, because this ship will destroy our carrier very quickly. Instead, we go in the War of 82. The Christian was the tightest ship between here and Charlemagne, and the crew of Jamie Dawson was the same. We have 25 drones to work with. We're going to launch them all. We're going to bet everything on a single decisive attack, because frankly, that's the most effective thing we can do. Here, that's the drones launching out. Let's have a closer look at one of these drones. We have its engine, its associated fuel, which, by the way, you might notice what that word is. Fluorine. Fluorine rockets are fun. What a fluorine rocket, how fluorine rockets work is basically, this is the combustion rocket, but instead of using oxygen to initiate the combustion reaction with the fuel, methane in this case, it uses fluorine as the oxidizer. And fluorine creates some wonderful byproducts when it reacts with methane. The big ones being hydrofluoric acid and carbon fluoride. Carbon fluoride's not that bad, but hydrofluoric acid is some evil shit. In fact, let me go see what the methane fluorine reaction produces as its byproducts. Methane fluorine reaction produces. Where are you? What are the reaction products here? So we get hydrofluoric acid and carbon fluoride. Carbon fluoride, let's see what this stuff is like. Because like I said, hydrofluoric acid is evil. But what is carbon fluoride like? Carbon tetrafluoride. It's a refrigerant. It's a horrible refrigerant too. But it's not horrible to us. The worst thing that comes out of carbon tetrafluoride is that when it concentrates densely enough of an area, it's an asphyxiation risk. Meaning because it's displaced the oxygen in the air, you will breathe it and not even realize that you are suffocating because you can't breathe this shit. Oh, no, partner, that's just this. That's all I've done. That's just the patchy model, courtesy of Reasol. Let me see if I still have that command active. Oh, I don't. But, so this is a patchy model that I have courtesy of Reasol. Let me go and actually link him for you so that you can see who I'm talking about. Yes, the pirate ships were cut to bloody shreds. Yeah, Reasol is great. So Reasol is an artist who draws patchy versions of various VTubers all the time. And one of the and that is just an example of what he does. But anyways, like I said, so this rocket, instead of producing carbon dioxide and water and as its byproducts, produces hydrofluoric acid and carbon tetrafluoride. Carbon tetrafluoride is a pretty shitty refrigerant, and hydrofluoric acid is just liquid evil. Oh, nice. Nice. That is really cool, partner. I love how Bird just calls him cum potato. Like, that's probably the best way to, like, the closest way you can actually say his name. But it's still just so goofy sounding every time she says it. Oh my god. I'm thinking of, I bet Bird would love this game, because this game just does some shit that she would absolutely vibe with. So now we have to figure out how the fuck we're gonna get these drones from here to there. First step, set our frame of reference. We're going to our trajectory, and we're going to start making our adjustments. First, bring this down. Tale of Jamie Dawson and his crew. Yes, the tale of Dawson's Christian and her crew.
They say that we're the strangest bunch to sail the starry seas. Forever your engines snatch our warp and catch us if you can. We'll drink a brew and journeys through round old
Aldebaran. Oh, hail the manatee, heads up, she's passing by. They say she is the oddest ship that ever tried to fly. Oh, well. Oh, there we are. Orbital node. This is where we need to perform our maneuver.
Across the recreation room and no one could get by. One night she heard what sounded like a
No, that won't work.
Wait.
Yep, that works. Okay. Now our orbital node has matched up with that point again. They're passing by. They say she is. We don't have enough delta V for that. Okay. This is going to be tricky. We may actually need to use the carrier to get ourselves into a matched orbit because it has much more delta V. No, not that much more. 4.54 as opposed to 3.3. But what we can do is use this as a sacrificial stage, get ourselves closer. So we want to here select orbital node as before. Now we're going to perform an out-of-plane maneuver, get ourselves into the right sort of trajectory. Oh, this orbital perturbation is going to kill me. Ah, this is annoying. All hail the manatee, heads up, she's passing by. They say she is the oddest ship that ever tried to fly. But here, let's try widening our orbit first. No, that here instead. Yes. Node. And our orbit. Then let's see what happens if we try and match the orbit here. That matches the orbit successfully. Now that we have successfully matched our orbits, we are effectively using the carrier as a first stage to then launch the drones at that Corvette. So now that we're in its orbital plane, our maneuvers will be much easier, and means the drones will expend much less delta V to reach to the target. That ever tried to fly. All hail the manatee, heads up, she's passing by. They say she is the oddest ship that ever tried to fly. So first, we widen our orbit at one point, and then we shrink it to then create our intercept. Then we lengthen our turn length and let drones do their thing. Drones are on an intercept course with the Corvette now. Watch this. Who do you love? Who do you love? Adeline's queen of Colony 3. But it was
Incoming
hungry as me
transmission.
to reach for the stars. Who do you love? Who do you love? Do you love? Who do you love? And as you can see, our drones have successfully destroyed the enemy Corvette. Who do you love? Adeline's queen of Colony 3, rich as a poor man's dreams can be. She can have anyone, she chose me. Who do you love? Who do you love? Oh shit, I don't want to unmute that. 3,000 every trip. Wild in the sack, just let her rip. Who do you love? Who? So, as you can see, we have successfully destroyed the enemy Corvette by riddling it with holes. Obviously, one of them from these drones hit something sufficiently important that it killed the, where are they? Where are the damn drones at? There they are. These are our drones. None of them seem to, some of them have taken a bit of damage, but nothing significant. Each of them was armed with a 33mm cannon, and they fired off a burst. Who do you love? Making some rice. Which do you like better, tea or chicken stock with rice? Ooh. Okay, so partner, I'm actually gonna comment on this because I do have a little bit of an opinion here, and that is specifically that it really depends on the chicken stock, because I have had some chicken stock that it tastes absolutely rancid. Holy shit, what was wrong with this chicken stock? It tasted sour, is the only way I can describe it. It was fundamentally wrong. And it was just, it had this sour funk. It had this sour funkiness that was just so bad. Clean, who do you love? Yeah, nah, I can see that, Kogasa. So here's the thing. You probably don't have the problem I have with chicken stocks for one reason or another. Ooh. Actually, no. Here's the thing. Partner, this is me making my own chicken stock that I've had this experience where sometimes it comes out smelling terrible. The chicken is fine. Like, the chicken looks fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But every once in a while, and I think I've discovered what the culprit is. I want to say, I really don't like. I think something is wrong with the bones. I think something might be wrong with the bones. The cartilage might have started to go off or something like that, and it just stinks. It stinks. This sour, funky stink that has, even if it's been frozen, Kogasa, even if it's been frozen, something just went wrong with that chicken's bones, and they just have this sour, funky stink to them that smells absolutely terrible. Like, the whole chicken, the rest of the chicken might be fine. And if you had cut it away from the bones and just cooked the meat, it would have been perfectly okay. But because you cooked it with the bones, this sour, funky stink has infected everything around them, and it makes it inedible. It is so bad. It's why I generally prefer to use beef or pork stocks, just because they're safer. They don't have that even when beef or pork stocks bones start to go a little weird. So I've done it a few ways, Kogasa, but the typical way I'll do it is with a pressure cooker. And I'm also wondering if that has an effect, because again, it's not like it's always bad. It's like sometimes it just smells. It's like, I know the instant I hit that valve and let the pressure release, whether or not that stock is any good. And I will just, because it just hits you immediately. It's so bad. I don't know what it is about these chickens that do this. I don't know if it's like the bones have started to go bad. I don't know if it's something else has happened to them. They just have this smell to them. And it's deeply unpleasant. What is this song? What is this song? Cynthia McQuillan. Luck is a Jade. And luck is a jade. They call my ship the Rambling Queen, the finest cat house you've ever seen. Cruising the star lines, raking in dough, fleecing the spacers wherever we go. Got every pleasure known in space, perversions of every world and race. I take the money, but I don't play, 'cause love is a lie, luck is a jade. Oh my god, this is a fancy song right here. She's basically, so what she's talking about is the ship that she won in a card game that she probably, no, I think she said she admitted that she cheated at. So she cheated at cards to win a ship, and now she runs that ship as a casino or whorehouse in space, and everything that goes along with that. Oh boy. But so that is that mission taken care of. Our propaganda machine is already spinning the exchange with the USTA as a positive, and the majority of the solar system appears to believe that the USTA fired first. As expected, given the Falklands precedent set centuries ago, USTA have not officially declared war, so neither will we. Regardless, we expect retribution over the coming months, and we are preparing for all-out undeclared war. On your end, we have a new task ready for you. Since the first major exchange between two major factions in modern history has just taken place, isn't that fucking topical? We are diverting any of our craft away from any celestial bodies with a major USTA presence. We had a research craft under the command of Captain Mendoza en route to Ida, but the USTA practically owns everything on that rock, and everything in orbit around it too. Thus, we had to divert the science vessel to Pallas, and the spacecraft ended up extremely short on Delta V after injecting. Pallas is actually devoid of any allied craft currently, and the Nippon Prime faction controlling most of Pallas is refusing our demands to refuel it. We suspect the USTA has had a hand in influencing Nippon Prime's decision via money, military threats to refuse to help us. Your mission is to try to finish up the rendezvous with the scant Delta V left in our craft's tanks. It'll be tight, but we're sure it's doable, and it should really help you hone your orbital maneuvering skills. You have 15 days before their provisions run out. So basically, we're in a race against the clock to get a research craft, get this research craft to a cargo station where it can then be refueled and restocked. It can be restocked with provisions and wait for a tanker to come by and refuel it. This is going to be fun. Thank God it's at least a methane rocket. I would be suffering if this thing had an ion engine. Like I said before, those engines have absolutely pitiful thrust because they're so focused on efficiency, that they will do everything they can to maximize it. Thankfully for us, we don't have that problem. Instead, we just have the problem of getting this thing to Pallas. Its acceleration is only about 0.2 g, but that's actually pretty good by the standards of stock ships in this game. So we'll be able to do this with relative ease, assuming... Let's see how much delta V we have, actually. 105 meters a second of delta V. Okay, first things first, set our frame of reference to the cargo station. Like that.
Incoming transmission.
Let's see what our thrust situation looks like. Alright, 6 amounts of delta V in time. For this mission, you'll find very quickly, I know what I'm doing. We have to... So we have to bear in mind, we don't have a lot of delta V to work with. And as a result, we only have... We have to get this thing... See what we can... Bring her around, bring her around. Yes, perfect. How much delta V is that going to cost? 14.6. Good. We are done. We have successfully done the maneuver. Being able to switch our frame of reference to make it work makes our life so much easier. Now that we've done that, these two ships will now join up and we'll be in position to get going. So bring her in, bring her in, bring her in.
Incoming
Boom.
transmission.
Done. 39 delta V, 39.8 meters a second of delta V. That's all we needed. Thank you. The crew is starting to get concerned we'd be left floating forever around Pallas, orbiting a tiny rock in the vast nothing of space. Next time we're in an allied spaceport, drinks are on me. Okay, let's go. Next mission. Let's see how long. So, orbital fallout. See what we have here. Out of plane maneuvering, fleet combat. While you were busy finishing up diverting our craft from USTA spaceports, it seems like the USTA had the opposite idea. USTA warship, taking a long journey from Jupiter, has entered orbit around our asteroid Eros. A blatant provocation. Despite the fact that Eros is just a little asteroid in the belt and holds only a tiny population compared to most of the other belt rocks, we have valuable assets there. Isn't Eros where the proto-molecule first broke out in The Expanse? By the way, The Expanse is a very good show, even if I don't like the design of its ships. The way that it handles the ideas of, you know, the political dimension, where it's, you know, the politics between Earth, Mars, and the asteroid belt, and the way that that creates the tension in the show is fantastic. Especially since what they have discovered is this ancient alien relic. Something that might be usable as a weapon. So each of them is desperate to figure out what's going on with it, whether or not it's a weapon or if it's just a threat. So what the proto-molecule turns out to be, by the way, is really fascinating. Proto-molecule in The Expanse is what's known as a von Neumann machine. What a von Neumann machine does is it's a probe that goes out into the darkness of space towards a planet. Once it lands on that planet, it then proceeds to construct everything it needs to create another probe and then send that probe off into space to find another planet. However, there are many variations on this idea. For example, the probe may not try to construct another probe, but instead build a completely different structure. Depending on the purpose of that probe may actually not simply may decide that instead of using mineral resources on that planet, it starts to convert biomass into the material it needs, and specifically targets inhabited planets. This is known as a berserker probe. It is a hypothetical weapon that a spacefaring civilization might use to clear out enough space around them that no other civilization inhabits, essentially creating a sort of border. One of the ways you would counteract this is another type of von Neumann machine called the Sandberg probe. The Sandberg probe deliberately targets uninhabited planets and then mines those planets to construct orbital defense installation, to construct interceptors. Essentially, it constructs interceptors And when it detects an incoming probe, it shoots that probe down. The protomolecule, on the other hand, is none of these. The protomolecule is much stranger. The protomolecule in the Expanse has the goal of constructing a form of advanced, faster than light travel. Literally, it's the only faster than light travel system in the entire setting. What I say here? Breathe, think, breathe. Basically, so the Expanse is like sometime in the future. It's slightly more advanced than Children of a Dead Earth because they have fusion engines, but beyond that, it's not like too out there. Everything happens at like sublight speeds, so you're looking at weeks to travel between Earth and Mars, or months to travel between Mars and the Belt. But this thing is here to build a warp gate literally to build a warp gate, and this is the only time this sort of technology exists in this setting, because this was the creation of an extremely ancient civilization that sent them out as a network to connect planets together. And also, no, it wasn't Eros where the protomolecule first appeared. It was Phoebe. Phoebe is another asteroid in the belt, by the way. That's not what's important. That's not really important. What's important is that this asteroid, what happens in the Expanse is that it turns out Phoebe was actually supposed to hit one of the planets in the solar system. Earth, Mars, Venus, pick one, really. And then from there, use the materials on that planet to construct the gate. However, instead, it got captured by Saturn and entered its orbit. Thus, and then captured by Saturn and entered the asteroid belt. This is where the protomolecule in the Expanse is first encountered. Afterwards, however, it is acquired by a corporation whose name I can't remember, and they use it as an experiment to see just how the protomolecule works. However, to do this, they sacrifice the entire population of Eros because they're evil. And that's how you show how evil they are. They're willing to kill the entire population of a space station, of an asteroid that's been hollowed out and turned into a colony to see what the hell this protomolecule thing does. It's kind of horrifying, actually, because in many cases, despite their bodies being absorbed by the yes, they did, Dusk. They committed a genocide just to see what the hell this thing they found on Phoebe does. And they did it in a really, really, really twisted way. So what they did is they faked an emergency on Phoebe, on Eros. They faked an emergency I think it was either a radiation leak. They faked a radiation leak from the colony's reactor. And then they gave everyone there an injection that they claimed was a drug to protect them from radiation, but was actually a sample of the protomolecule. They then put them into chambers that flashed them with intense radiation to stimulate the growth of the protomolecule. This meant that these people were now dead. However, their brains and their consciousnesses did not realize it yet. And this is the horror of the protomolecule. The protomolecule absorbs your body and converts it into building material, but it doesn't kill you in the process. In many cases, you are still alive, you are scared and in pain and suffering. Yes, it ate them from the inside. It ate these people from the inside, and it did that. And not only did it do that, Dusk, not only did it do this, it didn't just eat them from the inside. It was converting their bodies into building material and merging those bodies together. So not only were you scared and in pain and panicking, you were now stuck in a body with like hundreds, if not thousands of other people who were experiencing all the same things. Also, no, Dusk, it's worse than that. There's another game. So remember when I played Homeworld, Dusk? Do you remember when I played Homeworld? Were you here for that? Were you here for when I played Homeworld? Because if you were, it's going to make things a lot easier to explain. partner, if he's still around, definitely knows what I'm talking about, because I remember he is familiar with the Homeworld series. Because what I'm talking about is the Beast from Homeworld Cataclysm, an absolutely horrifying thing. The Beast is very similar. It is a biomechanical plague that infects ships, takes control of them, and on top of that, converts the crew into a living network of circuitry that it uses to fully increase its control over the ship it's just infected. And again, just like the proto-molecule, the Beast doesn't kill you immediately. It makes you there and watch, trapped in your own body, as you are turned into a weapon that the Beast will then use to kill your friends and loved ones. The Beast is horrifying. It is one of the scariest things ever put into a video game, and I am still legitimately impressed at the work Barking Dog Studios did to create something that terrifying. Because that thing is horror, pure and simple. It is horror. It is evil. It is a nightmare. It is the stuff of nightmares. Because again, you don't die. The Beast doesn't kill you. The Beast makes you watch. The Beast makes you watch as it takes your body, it takes your ship, it takes the bodies of everyone that was on the ship with you, and it uses them to infect more ships that might carry your friends and loved ones to spread itself further along. You are a prisoner to this monster, and it's terrifying. It is some terrifying shit. Put it that way. It's fucking horrible.
Well, everyone knows space is where good money is to be
So yeah, no, that's the Beast, and that's the proto-molecule. And the entire reason I brought that up is because we're going to Eros, where in the Expanse we had that horrible experiment where they infected a bunch of people with the proto-molecule. Oh boy, here we go. Look at this thing. It's so innocent looking. It's just a rock floating out in space. Who knew what kind of horrors would be visited on it? Who could have predicted? Pretty fucking crazy. Pretty fucking crazy. But anyways, that's not what matters. What matters is we have ship. And what we're going to do is use that ship to kill this ship. Our ship is the Silo ship. It contains 4 launchers. Also, by the way, this is our first time working. This is our first chance to play with nukes. Are you ready? Are you ready, kids? Ooh, what should I know what we're going to put on for this. Because we're playing with nukes. I know this is not the right game for this. I know this is from High Fleet, but this is the only thing that comes to mind. So, let us begin. I can't hear you. Let us begin our campaign of nuclear war.
Incoming transmission.
Go away. I know what I'm doing here. So, that is our target. This is our ship. We have many nukes to work with. 16 Devastator nukes, 120 Strikers. The Devastators are kind of shitty, so we're not really we're probably not gonna use them. We're just gonna work with the Strikers because they're so much more efficient. We have 120. 40 missiles should probably do the trick for the first wave. Let us set the frame of reference to the missile schooner and begin setting our trajectory. No, we're doing this all wrong. Put that there first. We need to check our orbital node. Once we're there, then we can start doing stuff. Set our frame of reference to the missile schooner, and once again, we begin adjusting our trajectory to try and hopefully hit our target. Actually, we're getting there. Patch orbit. Successful. Undo. We're actually going to have to restart. Because I just realized we're going to have to do this as a... Oh, we don't have any Delta... Oh, shit, that's right. This thing doesn't have any Delta V, does it? Yeah, the silo ship has no Delta V. So all of our maneuvers have to be performed with the missiles. It's just an initial wave, Dusk. It's a probing attack. Don't worry. We still have 96 missiles to play with afterwards. But trust me on this one. It will be fine. No, that's not what we're gonna do. There, yes. This out. That back in. Pull this, adjust this orbit. What we're doing right now is we are adjusting this orbit so that we need to use less Delta V here in the last stages, because performing the maneuver further away from the target uses less Delta V than if we try and do it closer in. In fact, that uses barely any Delta V. That only costs us about 49 millimeters per second of Delta V to perform. They are now launching missiles back at us. And this is what I mean when I say this is just a probing strike while we figure out what they're up to. They have made their launch. We are now going to reply. Once again, we're going to use the strikers for this because we have 80 of them. We don't need to destroy all of these missiles before they get here. All we have to do is soften them up. So we're going to use 10 strikers as our interceptors. Set that on a hard intercept course. Up and away towards the enemy. There we go. We have the intercept. It is now time to send those missiles off and see what happens. Our missiles are better than their missiles, so this should be a great opportunity to see what happens to see the difference between flak and nuclear missiles. They just burn through all their Delta V. Wow, these missiles suck. Oh well, fine. Oh, come on! No, don't home in. Don't go after the flak missiles. Let them keep flying. They're not your concern. You are not supposed to intercept these missiles, nor them, or the enemy missiles. Don't even bother trying to evade. Let them waste their Delta V against you, you stupid things. They go, they're closing in. And, yep, we are clear. Now we just have to wait for them to... What the hell is going on here? What? Yeah, they just passed by each other. Which is what we wanted to happen, actually. We didn't want our missiles to go after their missile. We just want them to pass by each other so that then make sure... Now we need to make sure these missiles are still on course to intercept the enemy capital fleet, which it looks like they might not be. Okay, stop that. Okay, good. They've come here. Now we're in the shit. We've got to first activate our point defense railguns and tell them we don't give a shit about the range. Just start firing. Just shoot down the missiles or make them miss. I don't care which one it is. See what happens. Good. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those have missed. Damage seems to be minimal. Okay, we're good. We haven't taken any significant damage, and their shot has missed. Now let's go and reconfirm the intercept on our own missiles. Intercept is no-go. I repeat, no-go, because their fucking missiles ruined our intercept. Okay. Put the frame of reference back to arrows real quickly. We're gonna have to recalculate this maneuver now. Hold on just a moment. Won't take turn long. First we gotta do that. Actually, no, we don't do it here. We do it at the node, remember? So select the node. Bring the camera back over this way. Up like that so we can get a good look at what we're doing. Bring this to... Actually, what we can do is we can be really spicy. First, set ourselves up retrograde. And we do this. What this does effectively brings us into the same orbit they're in, but the opposite direction. And that is exceptionally useful for creating high velocity intercepts that can then reach out and touch someone. They've just launched 50 nukes at us. Okay, if that's how you want to play it, that's fine by me. That's absolutely fine by me. Select this ship, go in, back. No. We want to select the capital fleet, select fleet, and we're going to once again deploy 10 strikers to get them onto as bad of an intercept as we possibly can. These 10 not good. We have created the initial intercept. And away they go! Let's see what happens, shall we? Cancel order. We don't want to burn through all our Delta V right at once. So we're going to do that. Go back into homing and see how bad they do. Oh yeah, they just burned through all their Delta V again. Lovely! That's what I like to see. That's exactly what I like to see. God damn it. Okay, just go like that. Good. They're going to pass by each other. And once again, we have to rely on our point defense guns to actually try and do something about this enemy missile fleet. I know the missiles are there. If you can actually start doing something about them, that would be helpful. Cargo station have any weaponry on it? No, it does not. Oh boy, this is unpleasant because now it's the nukes.
Incoming transmission.
Yep, we failed. Fuck this mission. Holy shit. Holy shit. What do you want me to do, game? This is some horse shit. Oh my god.
Incoming transmission.
They're keen on taking you out immediately. When their missile is the interception, we can deal with them in combat. Yes, I can see that. Okay, let them do that.
Incoming transmission.
Oh shit, we have decoys. Why did I not realize that? Okay, restart the mission.
Incoming
We're gonna go on the
transmission.
offensive immediately this time. I didn't even realize the ship had decoys. That's what we were supposed to do here. We were supposed to use the decoys to throw their own missiles off when they came after us. Okay, now that we know that, we're going to go with a hard offensive strike. Actually, no, we're just gonna launch everything. We're gonna launch everything and watch them go. As before, come here, orbital node, retrograde our orbit, retrograde the missile's orbit, and then adjust the orbital plane to match theirs. Good, we now have good intercept to work with. Flyby, that gets the intercept plotted. Close that notification. Their missiles are incoming. Here we go! Okay. Come. We are not producing enough heat for it to matter. Decoys out! Watch how the missiles go after the decoys, by the way. See how the decoys create something that is much more interesting than our own ship for the decoy, for the missiles to go after? That's the entire idea here. That's much... So, it's kind of safe to assume missiles in this game generally work off of infrared seekers, rather than any sort of radar system. Oh boy, here come the nukes. I think that's the reason why we weren't actually originally going to use nukes. It's not that we couldn't, it's that, well, in our current situation, they have more of them. And so we're kind of in a bit of a spot here. Decoys out. Good. Looks like they've fallen into the decoys. Just keep launching. Chaff away, chaff away, chaff away. Okay, they burned through their Delta V. We should be okay. Yep, we made it out that one. We made it through that one. Good. How many decoys do we have left? 54. We should be okay. Come on, baby. Come on. You know what to do next. Extend this out real quickly. See how long this takes. Okay, missiles are in position. Here we go. Time to watch these guys burn. Because they don't have decoys. So, any missiles that we send after them have every chance in the world of getting a good lock and getting on target. This will be amusing to watch. Also, can I just say how goofy this ship looks? Because here's the thing. None of the ships in this game are particularly pretty. None of them are particularly pretty. But there are some designs, like this one, that just look stupid. It looks like a dog toy. It kind of looks like a dog toy of some kind. I don't know what the hell it is. Watch this. Boom. Nukes. Wow, that actually didn't do as much as I was hoping it would. Oh, well. Enough to get the job done. New missiles out. Da, na, 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 na. Na, 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 na. Na, 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 na. Once again, set our orbit retrograde, and then set ourselves up on an intercept course. Set ourselves up for the intercept. Good, we have that set. Flyby. Flyby confirmed. Da, na, 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 na. Now comes the killing blow. Watch them come in. Watch them come in, Mr. Schooner. Watch what's coming for you. There's nothing you can do about them. But believe me, this is only the beginning of our nuclear adventures. These aren't even particularly good missiles. These are just the ones the game makes us use. Let me give you a closer in look at them as well. You can understand what kind of equipment we're working with here. A 2-megaton warhead, hydrogen peroxide, powering a rocket that works by decomposing it into steam. This is not a particularly good missile. This is This is hardly the beginning. Because you'll see soon enough what happens when you let me design my own missiles and my own ships. High gravitation, tight Delta V budget. Lagrange Point Graveyard. Well, it looks like the USTA fleet en route to Davida may just have been a feint after all. It diverted from Vesta to our second major stronghold in the belt, Ceres. We had been shipping off many of our warships from Ceres to Vesta when they made their invasion burn to Ceres. We only had a month to react. Far too little time to execute a turnaround of those ships, and far too little time to muster any forces from any of our other rocks in the belt, from Vesta or anywhere else. The United Sol Trade Alliance War Fleet wiped out our remaining defense fleet around Ceres except its flagship. When the battle went badly, the rest of the fleet was sacrificed to discover the escape of the flagship, which fled Ceres into a solar freefall. It afterwards used the last of its Delta V to capture into a tadpole orbit around the Mercury Sun Lagrange Point 4. The flagship holds one of our most esteemed military leaders, Admiral Yanti Suteja, commander of the Ceres Defense Fleet, and the crew has somewhat over 3 months of food left, as they were not planning for such a situation. We have a methane tanker in orbit around Mercury. Rendezvous it with the disabled ship and rescue the crew before they run out of food. We'll send more ships later to recover the flagship when they can finally arrive at Mercury. But for your mission, you just need to rendezvous with the flagship before one of our top brass starves to death. Oh boy, it's time for another rescue. We have 15 days to get this tanker in position to join this gunship. This, by the way, this is the best stock ship in the game. But once again, like I said, once you start designing your own ships, you'll learn very quickly, this thing sucks. It is so much easier to do better than what they have done here. And not only do better, but do better for the same tonnage and price. But but complaining is for later. For now, let's begin the rescue, shall we? We need different music for this.
Transmission.
I'm thinking... Very good question. I know what we're going to put on. I know exactly what we're going to put on. This song is Twin Brothers Revenge by Volta, and it is also really good. In case you haven't discussed, yes, I know how Lagrange points work. Go away. So this is the ship we have to rescue. This gunship over here has no Delta V and 15 or so days worth of supplies left. This is where we are starting. No. We want to select anchor, focus the camera. This is our start point. We have to get from here around Mercury to here. To facilitate that, the first thing we're going to do is see what happens when we set our reference point for Mercury to instead the Lagrange point. And check our trajectory to see what it looks like. Answer, not good. First step now. We set our frame of reference, focus the camera in, and get out of Mercury's orbit. The easiest way to do that will be from the apoapsis, the point at which we are furthest away from Mercury. We are now free of Mercury's orbit, and so it begins. We have 3 months, 9 days to get to them and perform the rescue. Burn is good. We are free of Mercury's orbit. Now, we just have to get ourselves over to them. That means we need to push this orbit. We need to push this orbit way out. That gives us control. We now have control. First step, get ourselves into position like that. That puts us in orbit around the Lagrange point. Once we're here, we can now see how much that would take. Actually, that might work. Not enough Delta V. Shit. Okay, but we now have a good orbit. So, let's change our frame of reference to the friendly gunship. And from there, we'll start making further adjustments. First step is to tighten this orbit. There. That should use less. Intercept plotted successfully. We've done it! We've got the rescue! Now, all we do is run the simulation. You know what? 6 days. That's going to take way too damn long if we do it 1 day intervals. 2 months, 5 days. We are in position. Bring us in.
Incoming
Done.
transmission.
Just in time, Admiral. Thanks for the rescue. Just take the methane and go. Swear to God. Next mission. Let's see what they've got us doing this time. Disable an enemy ship around Interamnia that is mutinied, but do not destroy it. Oh boy. Well, this is most unfortunate. One of our warships in orbit around Interamnia has mutinied, imprisoned the captain, and seized control of the ship. We assure you it's an isolated incident and not endemic to our entire military or anything like that. I get the feeling you're lying! The first officer, Commander Rahimi, has made a number of demands which you need not bother yourself with. These demands, however, make him firmly an enemy of the state, guilty of high treason to be executed without trial as per the laws of our republic. Ordinarily, we would recommend you take the nearest allied ship and nuke Rahimi's ship into hot plasma, no questions asked. But there's a bit of a wrinkle. The skipper of this ship is Captain Shinta Chandra, a daughter of Senator Chandra, the most powerful senator in the Parliament of Mars, if not the entirety of this republic. Nuking his daughter out of existence would be a disaster, especially since his ties with the rare metals mining industry are key to supplying our entire war effort. I love the smell of corruption in the morning. With that in mind, we need to instead tread this issue with delicacy. We still intend to make Rahimi disappear, so the plan is to close in and disable the enemy spacecraft. Knock out their weapons and engines. We can approach with a boarding party and take the ship. For taking out their weapons, you can either do it directly or simply shoot out the power plant. For the engines, you can go for the engines or their propellant tanks, so long as the ship has no Delta V at the end. And I must stress to you, the crew compartments are not to be destroyed. If Captain Chandra is killed in the crossfire, we'll try to spin a story blaming the USTA or anyone else, but I don't think the senator is going to buy it. If he discovers the truth, I doubt even your mother would be able to save you, president or not. Probably won't reflect too well on her political career either. Damn, even in the middle of a major war, we have a political infighting. Something tells me the guys we've been working for don't have their shit all together nearly as much as they'd like to claim. Oh, hey, remember that ship I was telling you about before? The one that we had to go rescue? Yeah, it's one of those. This is the same ship. As for the enemy's ship, laser skip. I wonder what we can do with it. Well, let's get started, shall we?
Incoming transmission.
In order to precisely disable the enemy's ship, I recommend doing two things. Disabling any of our own weapons that will do too much damage, target specific modules. So, take a look here, see what we've got. Obviously, our first priority should be kill their power plant. So, guns will shoot at everything on the ship. Not a good idea. Okay. Only target a single set of modules at a time. Barraging multiple systems at the same time. Easy way to destroy the entire ship. Okay, first steps first. We're going to take out their propulsion. Here, missile launcher, lasers. Inaccurate. Missiles are homing. They go after heat sources and are unaffected by your target prioritized. Yeah, no, that's probably not a bad idea then. If I'd known about, yeah. Determine which weapons are neither too powerful nor too weak, as well as accurate enough. Here's what I'd recommend. Try disabling all the weapons except for one of them, and see how effective it is against the enemy, and cycle through your weapons in this way. Oh, hey there, Crazy Ivan! How are you doing? How are you doing tonight? Yes, we're playing Children of a Dead Earth, and right now, they have us stuck in a gunship. A ship that, I don't like. I don't like this ship. It's kind of shit. I don't like it at all. Like, all the stock ship in this game kind of suck. Especially when you're so used to designing your own. Kogasa, there is no saving in this game. But thank you for the hydrate. Here we go. Let's see here. Blah, blah, blah. Yes, I know how all this works. I've done this before. Okay, so this probably be primary weapon. The lasers, probably. Scatter railguns, probably not a good idea. We're probably just going to go with the sniper coil guns, auto-fire railguns, and see what those do, depending on what happens next. Oh, don't worry, Kogasa. Don't worry about that. You'll be seeing just how long they last soon enough. So, missiles are out of the question, as we saw before. Instead, first step, we're going to compensate for this ship's utterly pathetic performance by widening our orbit and then performing our intercept, as this way we expend less Delta V. Bring her in. Good. That's our zero effort intercept taken care of. Let's see what happens. Run the turns. Let's go with the 1 day, actually. See how much time we got. Oh, this is going to be cutting it close. You're in command?
Transmission.
Aren't you the president's kid? Listen to me. Stop your attack. This doesn't have to end in violence. You of all people should understand my reasons for doing what I did. Stop the attack and just hear me out. The Republic's high command is lying to you, and someone doesn't want us to hear what he has to say. Well, that's a little sketchy if you ask me. So, next step, like I said, target their propulsion. Now, let's see which weapons we have with the longest range. The coil guns obviously will be... So it looks like the coil guns will be taking the shot first, which works for me. So, begin the intercept. Let's see what happens. Target in range, but we are closing. Coil guns have opened fire. Let's see what happens. It's too far back in the ship. So instead, let's go with these big radiators. See how that performs. These are probably going to be easier to hit. Yep, those are much easier to hit. And that'll kill their power generation, which basically does the job for us perfectly. Let's actually go for this radiator instead. These radiators will probably be easier to hit. Or if not, those... No, let's go for the... Yeah, okay, that's another radiator done. No, we're just hitting the hull. Okay. Where about on the ship are we hitting? Holy shit. No, you see, that jamming is external, Dusk. That's probably that jamming is one of two things. That is someone in our CIC jamming the transmission to make sure that nobody can actually see, that we don't hear the rest of that transmission, or somebody higher up has just flicked on a high-powered jammer to make sure we don't hear this transmission. Someone isn't telling us the whole truth, and I don't like it. Okay, back to targeting the big radiator. See what happens with that. Those won't be useful here. What about the scatters? Too short range. Okay. Let's start doing something a little drastic here, actually. We're going to start incorporating other weapons into the barrage by using the ignore range command. We're going to fire these off in bursts, however, to make sure that they don't indiscriminately hit anything on the ship that we might not want to take. To hit the crew compartment. We don't want to hit the enemy CIC in this case. We're going to make sure that doesn't happen by maximizing our ability by doing a few things here. First, set the command to homing. We're going to use the fact that we probably have more Delta V than them. We're going to fully exploit that by getting in close and by closing the distance, making sure we have a good intercept. And okay, they're moving away. This is no good, actually. Good. New intercept course has been set. Shots out. Shots out. Orient broadside. See if we can't hit that damn radiator. I swear to God, that thing's gonna drive me insane with the way that it's like such a small target. And we don't have the kind of weapons that I'd like to be using here because they make us use the stock ships for this goddamn mission. I have so many ships that are so much better than this one, and it's just I want to be able to use one of the ships I've actually designed, at least some of the weapons on it, because that would make this so much simpler, because they're so much better. They are unbelievably better than this thing. It's not even funny how much, actually it is, it's comedic how much worse this ship is than anything that I could bring to bear if they just let me use my own damn ships. I have actually done the work to optimize the ships in this game to create stuff that isn't total garbage. And yes, I will shit talk the default ship's Q switch. I understand that they're probably not exploiting gaps in the game's physics engine. Oh damn, we just hit that radiator. Okay, looks like we've hurt their power generation. The rest of this should be relatively simple. Yep, that's not gonna work. Okay, restart mission.
Incoming transmission.
Disable help. I know. What we're gonna do instead, come back around this way. Let's see what happens if we just do this. Curious now. Go set frame reference, rogue laser skiff. Okay. This up, that. This up. Have ourselves a 0 effort intercept. Good. And
Incoming transmission.
we have made contact. Flyby in 2 hours. Okay. First, disable those because we already know what will happen if we don't. These can probably be disabled because they can't even read the damn thing. And we're gonna once again going to be targeting a specific set of modules on. As before, we're going to prioritize the radiators because if we do that, yes, what is word? Indeed. Thank you for the follow. Thank you for the follow, Crazy Ivan. Nice to have you here. Nice to have you here while I scream at Children of a Dead Earth to just let me use the ships I've developed because they're so much better than the shitty default ones. Ah! Okay. Yeah, we're not hitting shit. We ain't hitting shit at this point. Okay, let's start using the burst firing like I said before. Maybe if we get lucky, we'll hit something. I'm gonna go with no, though, because holy shit, this thing is terrible. This ship is terrible. I've clowned on this ship so many times just as a test target. It's not even funny how much worse, how much better the ships that I've been able to design in this game are than this thing. Sure, the community, and yes, I know a lot of these were designed with, none of these were designed with Community Materials Pack, which creates a huge advantage for you when you're designing stuff, particularly when you get into the realm of using exotic carbon materials. But it's not like any of those materials are, fantasy. They have, they have their own particular material properties you still have to work with. And it's, I'm not saying, and none of these are like, hand wavium, which is a material that I did make for this game to specifically play around and see what the limits of it are. These are somewhat, at least, feasible materials that actually exist in some form. Some way, shape, or form. Okay, looks like, we're not gonna be able to hit him here. Just gotta wait for that to clear. Okay, now let's recalculate our intercept and see what happened. We have 8 days left to work on. We have 8 days left. So we come back around for another shot and pull up. Fire off the coil guns again, and hopefully this time they'll actually hit something. I'm not optimistic, though, because holy shit, their accuracy is terrible. Again, going to start using the ignore range to burst fire a few of the other weapons to increase the volume of shit we're sending at them, because maybe that'll increase our hit probability. Get us through this part. Okay. Enemy laser skiff's armor's being damaged. We're still not hitting a damn thing. Holy shit. This thing is terrible. Thing is absolutely terrible. I hate it. I hate it. Hate it. Hate it so much. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna do something really stupid. We're gonna do that. Then we're gonna use this to create a much closer intercept. And once we've done that, we can then reactivate the coil guns at a range where they'll be significantly more accurate. Yep, just like that. Good. Now we have an actual chance of hitting something. This is probably what we should have done in the beginning with. It's just deactivate everything but our shortest ranged weapon and then bring ourselves in before we start powering everything else on. This way we'd actually have a chance, this way we wouldn't have to just sit there and watch as our shots fly by and miss. This is not fun. This is unpleasant. This is kind of what I was worried about when I decided I was gonna play this game, is that it was gonna turn into this. So well, here we go. Trying to replot this. You know what we're probably gonna do? We're gonna restart this and do this once
Incoming
again.
transmission.
Yes, disable. I know what I'm doing here, game. Turn these off. Turn these off. Turn these off. Turn these off. These off. Those on, and that'll get us within the kind of range. Once we're there, then we can start performing our intercept maneuver. Good. Intercept. 4. That. And we are
Incoming transmission.
nice and close in now. Now we can start powering everything else back on. The lasers. Yeah, we can really use the lasers now. And we're going to target big radiators again. Everything's in range except for the lasers, but oh well. So, I'll let these all fire off now and see what kind of fucking nightmare they create for that ship. Yep, here we go. Everything's working now. Everything's working. Perfect. Turn on the scatters. I don't think we did turn the scatters back on. They don't have enough power, do they? Okay, let's go orient broadside. Get ourselves better firing solutions, and that should take care of the rest for us. Yay. Come on. Oh my god. Even at this range, the accuracy on these things is terrible. Don't do anything I would do. Unless it's use high explosives. Then wake the world a mushroom of cloud of explosions. God damn it, Dusk. Oh, this is kind of like I said. This is what I was afraid it was going to devolve into. Is just sitting here and watching every shot we fire miss, because this thing's weapons are so bad. These weapons are so bad that it's trivial for an enemy ship to avoid them. You know what I'm tempted to do? You know what I'm really tempted to do? Restart this, and even though the game says don't use missiles, I'm thinking that since the missiles home in on the largest heat source, we can get the missiles to whack their radiators. Only one way we're going to find out, though. So we are going to launch off a relatively small number of them just as a test. This is only a test. Good. Pull that in there like that. Accept. Got it successfully. Good. Now let's see what these missiles do, shall we?
Incoming transmission.
There's nobody there to talk to. It's just the missiles, fam. Oh god, they're just gonna go for the... Yep, they're just gonna go for the decoys. I should have thought about that. But, like I said, this was only a test. Yes, this is only a demonstration to see what happens when we fire off missiles at an enemy ship like this. This is merely a test. This is a test of the emergency alert system. This is only a test. In a real emergency, important information would follow this announcement. I actually learned something interesting the other day, actually. Speaking of the emergency alert system, it turns out the emergency alert system, the tones involved in the emergency alert system are actually illegal to transmit publicly, which makes sense, but I didn't realize there was a specific law about it until the other day. So that doesn't work. Okay, so as before, disable. Probably keep those on because I bet those are the shortest range weapons we actually have. Disable. Good. And we're going to use these, govern our intercept, and make sure we actually get close enough to hit something. So pull that in like that. Intercept just like that. Good. And run the course.
Incoming transmission.
Shut up. I don't care. I don't care. I know what's going on here. We're being lied to. Believe me, I'm not surprised at all. I am not surprised at all, fam. Think this is a shock to me? No. I came here expecting to be lied to and bullshitted. I'm just here to kill you. But you know, at some point I'll kill them as well. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it one bit. Not my fault. Not your fault. Not my fault. There go their lasers. Excellent. Radiators are dealt with. New radiators selected. Good. This is actually working now. And damn
Incoming
it!
transmission.
Damn it! Oh, come on! Come on! Okay, restart this.
Incoming transmission.
Disable help. I know what we're doing here. I targeted the wrong modules. That's what happened there. The problem is I don't know where their reactor is. That's probably what's getting me killed here. Ooh, no, keep those on. Those are our shortest range weapons, and we want to use them as our intercept, like I said before, to govern the intercept and make sure that we actually get in range to hit things. Because as you saw there, we were actually doing really well in terms of accuracy. That was actually kind of refreshing. So we go here, first steps first, target the big radiators. Now we power up everything once again. Power things up again just to see what happens. Not gonna use, actually, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna just use the lasers because they are good for just cutting away at an enemy precisely. Good. Everything else has been disabled. And broadside, maximize our hit probability. And watch us just burn through these lasers. 1 and 2. Next step, use going after their propulsion. Burning through that as before. Are you doing that? No, don't go there. Go after the fucking... Okay, good. They have no propulsion. Next step, new radiators. 1, 2, and it looks like we won't be able to hit the third one from here. So we may actually want to go after a weapon system instead. What do they have left? Looks like they just have that blast launcher. That's taken care of. They will be disarmed. We can move in to perform the boarding action. Assuming that no other problems come out. Yup. I wouldn't be surprised at all, Dusk. I would not be surprised one fucking bit. There we go. I'm ordering the crew to stand down. We surrender. Once again, you've proved exactly what kind of people run this republic. Rahimi? You know, it's gonna be a while until they get here. And you know what? We might just board first. Say that, take the credit for, bringing you in. And you can tell us everything we need to know in the process. How does that sound to you, Because I bet that's something we'd be entirely able to pull off. Good work, Admiral. Begin prepping the boarding parties now. How do I get to... Oh, no, I don't. Retrograde orbit around Mars. Just a follow-up to the previous mission. You did an excellent job handling that situation, and both Senator Chandra and Captain Chandra have passed along their thanks to you. And in case you had any doubts about what you did, we've just discovered Commander Rahimi has been receiving funding from an anonymous source linked to the USTA. On top of that, we've uncovered numerous more counts of corruption, bribery, and sexual assault, all linked to that man. So rest assured, he was a bad person, and you did the right thing in eliminating him. That's amazing. That's fucking... that's good. That's good. Oh, let's just stack every charge we can onto this guy and say he's been working with the enemy just so that you don't have any doubts. So that you just to make you see, just to say how evil he is. Obviously. Oh yeah, shove your self-righteous thumb up your ass. Indeed. Holy shit. I don't know who the person is giving us these orders, but something tells me they have their own skeletons in their closet. It honestly reminds me of how I am gonna get very briefly political here. It reminds me of how in some cases, whenever the Chinese government wants to make somebody disappear, because they're a rival to the current leading faction, like say for example Xi Jinping, how many people corruption charges and such purge? I mean, Bo Xilai was just the beginning. Honestly, yeah, Bo Xilai was just the beginning. Yes, I know that that murder happened I'm not denying that murder happened, but it is so blatantly obvious that instead of actually just trying that person for murder, they were and conspiracy, they were using that as a political tool to get rid of a rival to Xi Jinping and his faction within the party. Oh, it's so bad. But anyways, that aside, your next mission is refocused around the USTA's impending military maneuvers. They actually have the gall to enter a small military fleet into high orbit around Mars, and it's been idling in that orbit, making no aggressive moves at all. With Mars as our headquarters, we have more than enough firepower to wipe out that fleet, but High Command is a little nervous that they could have the confidence to enter orbit around the Hornet's nest. It could be simple force projection to keep us cautious and deterred, or perhaps it's a feint, a trick to draw out our primary Martian defense force, most of which is hidden underground in concealed bunkers, or it could be to gather intel on us from close range, or maybe it's all of the above. Regardless, no one in High Command likes it, and you can be assured that the people of Mars are not happy about this news either. We need to get rid of these ships, but we'd like to do it with as little firepower as possible, so as not to reveal our forces, and just in case they have some trick up their sleeve. With that in mind, you'll be commanding a carrier to dispatch the enemy fleet. Intel suggests the enemy commander is Commodore Tatiana Van Hanen, a well-documented military leader with some combat experience during the Enceladus purges, alongside the captain you killed back at Ganymede. Her record appears to be primarily defensively oriented, and her combat style is quite conservative. In keeping signature with her signature style, she has placed her ship in an out-of-plane retrograde orbit, which forces her opponents, in this case you, to expend as much Delta V as possible to intercept her. Well, yeah, I know, right? Same, Dusk. Absolutely the same. Because, I mean, on one hand, yes, we have someone who is posturing aggressively that we need to deal with. Here's the thing. At this point, I was saying, I have no love for the Republic. I don't care. The rest, you guys, as far as I'm concerned, you guys can go burn. But I have a job to do. I'm going to make sure that job is done. Because otherwise, who knows what might end up happening. So let's see what we have to work with. Support carrier. Carrying 2 launchers for drones and Stinger drones, a few defensive cannons, and a skirmisher carrying nuclear missiles. So what we're going to do here is use the carrier's drones to disable the enemy's propulsion and defensive systems before finishing them off with the missiles. See what we're up against. Laser frigate. Oh boy, my favorite. This is going to be unpleasant. This is going to be really unpleasant. Shit. Look at how... Okay, so, yeah. It's the same laser loadout as a gunship, but without any of the other without nearly as many secondary weapons. So, if we can deal with these lasers, probably by destroying their cooling system, which should be simple enough. It just means blowing off radiators. We actually, you know what we're going to do? We are going to go and study the laser frame. That way, we know which radiators are connected to what, and thus, we can prioritize our targets. Ah, perfect. So it looks like we only have to worry about these 2 radiators. Once these are out of the picture, the missiles will have a much easier time coming in to deal with them. So, go now. That would be force projection. Good. Again. So, what we're going to do here is we're going to first take the, okay,
Incoming transmission.
tough. Yeah, I know what we're up against, but okay, fine. Let's... Single laser frigate. Lasers doesn't change depending on the size of the target. All size of your drones is no longer an advantage. Okay. Drones you send will be likely annihilated. Target the enemy's modules. Okay, as I said before, we know our primary target. It's these 2 big radiators. Right here. Oh shit. It looks like they're grouped up with the other. You just had to make this difficult, didn't you? I really would like to be able to just target these two radiators, but I won't be able to because instead it's just going to target all of them. And Lord knows which ones it'll pick first. That's going to be fun. Okay, so we're starting here. Okay, so it looks like we actually have to do things the other way around. Missiles, carrier, drones. Tactical options are missiles, drones, and capital. Note the arrow on the enemy's orbit. Yes, I know how orbital directions work. I've done this before. Let me do my job. First, select the node. And we're going to actually turn this advantage of a retrograde orbit into a problem. Do that quite easily, in fact. First, this will which will align our orbit with theirs. And now that we're retrograde, and then once we're retrograde, we'll have a much easier time taking the shot. First, go in here, like the skirmisher, and we're going to do this the other way around. Rather than using drones to take out their defenses with the missiles, we're going to use the missiles to take out their defenses. Drones can deliver the killing blow. And shit. I just fucked that up. Okay, disable help. Know what we're doing. I just forgot to wait until the burn had completed. As a result, wasn't able to do the thing I do. First, we go here, trajectory. Align ourselves with orbit. 4. Good. Now that we are aligned, okay. Not a perfect alignment, but we don't need a perfect alignment for what. Go skirmisher. We're going to launch everything in one go. As before, single large decisive strikes actually work quite well in this. Here, flyby, not enough to. Okay. Cancel that burn. Let's set our frame of reference to the laser frigate. See what we can do with that. Good. That's been set up. Ah, that's the problem. It's because we're still slightly out of plane. Okay. So next step. Adjust that plane so that it's in line. Flyby. Intercept successfully plotted. Excellent. Watch this part.
Incoming transmission.
May the best commander win, Republic Admiral. You're gonna fucking die, Van Hanen. You're going to die. Watch this. Missiles are inbound, and that's way more than their laser will be able to. Excuse me? Okay, let's try this again. What the hell happened there? They really just did that. Okay. So once again, select the node, and yeah, because here's the thing: we were about to successfully saturate their laser system, but I guess one way or another they were able to not make that, able to defeat that anyways. Oh well. This will give us a much closer orbit than this. Should create the situation we can actually win. I emphasize should because there's still so many ways this can, as we saw earlier. So before we go, set our frame of reference, and we trying to push ourselves into a sex with. Hopefully this time we don't fuck it up. Good. We are fine. Now we just are good. Flyby. But successfully.
Incoming transmission.
Hopefully this time they won't all just blow up at once. Although, considering how this game... yeah, they just burned through all their Delta V. Okay. That's not going to work.
Incoming transmission.
They will help. We're going to have to actually match their orbit or something similar like that with the actual ship first, and then we'll be able to do the rest of it. Hey, this is going to be true. Particularly because those missiles have no Delta V. Oh my god, they are terrible. Again, like I said, that's the stock missiles of the game for you. They're abysmal. They're absolutely tragic. How close that gets. Plane. That's gonna be the real thing to. Oh, not gonna work. That's our node. Ever so. Ourselves a bit. Again at the new node. This one. Here. Much. Perfect. Okay. We're about as close to in plane as be able to effectively get. Here, have 14 days to get ourselves into an orbit that will work. This is going to be the interesting. So, orbital node. Hopefully, pray that perturbation doesn't. Here. Orbital node. 4. Out again. Now that we're here, we'll have a much easier time getting ourselves into position. Or at least that's what I'm hoping. Because obviously, as you saw before, it can still go horrendously wrong. Skirmisher. Punch off. Not all of them. Maybe? Fire off a relatively... Go set reference. And... what is... oh, it looks... this is... a 0 effort. Trouble. Spend more process. Because I swear, it's like we're so close. We're bit. This does for
Incoming transmission.
might be able to make this work, assuming the ship doesn't, assuming the missiles don't burn off all their Delta V again. Okay, good. We are in mid-course coast. We actually have a good shot. This will actually work. Oh my god. Going terminal and boom.
Incoming
Oh
transmission.
wow, we didn't even need to use the drones. Perfect. Oh my god, that went so much better than I was expecting. Oh, that's good. That's good. That's the good shit right there. My best is 2 days, 3 hours. That's fine. Next mission. No, we still can't. Okay. You know what? I'm actually going to skip ahead a little bit just because I'm tired of using these garbage ships. Homecoming. Be taking series. We're going to do main belt extraction. Actually, no, we're going to do Vesta Overkill. Because Vesta Overkill will give me an opportunity to demonstrate what I mean when I say that so many of ships you can design in this game will be infinitely better than any of the stock ships the game has, to the point where we're not going to use any of the stock ships for this. That's how much better our ships are. So, currently, they have us using a support carrier, a missile schooner, a corvette, orbital defense craft. We have a budget of 370 million and a tonnage limit of 13,000 tons. This is so easy to do better than. And we actually have access to all of our ships to do that with. This will obviously be out of the question. It's too heavy, too expensive. But this is also a ship that's just designed to be crazy. Instead, we're going to use another one of my favorites. Down here. No, it's too heavy. Okay, can't use that one. But the Guam class cruiser is a monster. And hopefully, at some point, I'll be able to show you just how monstrous it is. Instead, we are going to use Rapier class destroyer, which is something I designed a while back using the community materials pack with the... Oh, come on! Even that's too heavy? It's a little too expensive too. Okay. Oh, I know what we can use then. We can't use any of those. We're going to use a pair. We're going to use a single Tomcat class guided missile frigate. And just watch how much better this thing is than any of the stock ships. This ship will absolutely clown
Incoming transmission.
on Vesta and their fleet, which consists of silo ship, a fleet carrier, a corvette, and a cutter. And I have specific music for this just because I know what I'm doing here. Here we go. Da, na, na, na. Da, na, 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 na. The Tomahawk missile, everyone. The Tomahawk is a missile design that I worked on, that I developed using the community materials pack that incorporates advanced fluorine rocketry to create a nuclear missile that is far more efficient and far higher performance than anything the stock game has. And we have over 200 of them. So we can easily expend, let's see how many we have here, 80 missiles on this fleet. Na, 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 na. Na, 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 na. Check our course. We need to set ourselves a little bit further back, and there's probably just some plane adjustment. No. Okay. What is going on here? Okay, let's just finalize the intercept and watch what happens next. Drones are inbound. They have launched their own missiles. That's fine. Our missiles will get there first. No, I've got a present for you, Overkill. Have fun. Looks like that cutter is going to be a bit of a problem. It has all the decoys in the fucking world. Holy shit. But looks like we've got ourselves good hits on target. We managed to shine their radiators, and as a result, they'll probably start having cooling problems. That's something we're going to take full advantage of with the second wave. But first, we have to intercept these incoming drones. That won't be too hard though, because watch how many weapons the Tomcat has to make that happen. First wave out. First shot. Barrel missiles are away in 3, 2, 1. Gone. Good. Disable the launcher so that it doesn't try to fire more. Its stop is done. Stabo is out. Now we just wait to see. Now we just wait for impact. Bum bum. Dun dun. dun 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 na na. Also, we're going to take advantage of one of the features of the Tomcat's design. And this is a feature that I use in pretty much every ship I design. A heavily armored nose cone. You can see it here, in fact. This array on the front half of the ship consists of a spaced array of steel, polyethylene. No, Crazy Ivan, I'm already using the Community Materials Pack, the Community Future Materials Pack, and as well a few other exotic materials which allow me to use things such as the Zubrin NSWR. Now we're just waiting to see what happens when these we're just currently waiting for the Sparrows to make their intercept on an incoming fleet of drones. Boom. Okay, drones have been softened up. Now we just gotta wait for them to get within our own weapon point defense range. Here we go. Vulcans have opened fire. Lasers are engaging the targets. This won't take long at all. Don't ignore the streams of fire. Once again, the Tomcat's armored nose cone should handle them just fine. In the meantime, just watch the drones die. Looks like we've lost 2 of the medium laser mounts. That won't be too much of a problem though, since we still have the other 2 active. It's kind of a shame I couldn't bring the Guam or the Guam with me, because the Guam has the more powerful large laser mounts, which would have absolutely vaporized this drone fleet. However, there's no use crying over spilt milk. Now we retaliate. Bring up the tomahawks. Once again, we have 120 rounds left to work. We have 120 rounds left. We're going to launch everything. Now watch the chaos. We don't want that one. We want the fleet of missiles that have successfully launched. Bring it up. Set frame of reference to Vesta. Just so that we have ready to go. This over as before. Set our frame of reference back to the capital fleet. Now we start playing with this again. Good. We are in position. Okay, good. They didn't actually go after the Tomahawks aren't doing anything. Oh boy, more drones. This time, we're actually going to do something else. We're going to let the secondary point defense railguns engage the target as well. Sparrows are out. Disable the launcher. Here we go. Vulcans, opening fire now. Yes, I know they're not within their optimum range, but for point defense, that's fine. Bum, bum. Dun, dun, dun. Look at those tracers. Holy shit. These guys are getting shredded. This is just a perfect demonstration of how easy it is to make a ship that is vastly superior to anything the game has stock, because I can pretty much just sit here and let them throw themselves against me wave after wave after wave and just watch the drones go dead. Oh, it's so good. Okay, are we in laser range yet? Not even close. The Sparrows are approaching the intercept point though. Let's cut the railguns to make sure that they have a clear solution. Okay, looks like they are good to go. Let's see if we can't retask them. Okay, Sparrows are being retasked to intercept enemy drone. One of the other enemy missile fleets. Flyby. Can't do. Okay, no good. What about this one? Intercept. No go, no go. Okay, that's a drone fleet, though. Drone fleet I missed. Send them back over this way. We are tasking them with this intercept. God, they don't have enough Delta V for anything, do they? Holy shit. They just burned through it. We might just be better off. Okay, bring them up, bring them up, bring them up. Where is that damn drone fleet at? What are they doing? It's like, sometimes these maneuvers get so finicky. You have to really zoom in to figure out what the hell you're doing. And that's where this game gets strange. Not enough Delta V. Okay, these won't actually be able to do anything useful. So let's just detonate the warheads and get ready for impact. Step 1, make sure the Sparrow launches are active. Good. Okay, here come the next wave of missiles. And here we go. Sparrows out, out, out. Salvo out. Railguns, fire off the railguns in a few bursts. That'll soften them up, make the Sparrow's job easier. And do we get any hits? Negative on Vulcan. Waiting for PT railguns to respond. And good night, Dusk. Get some rest. Oh no, you're not going anywhere. You're sticking around. Oh, I read that wrong. Oh boy, am I the fool here. Bum, bum, bum. Now, remember how I said this ship is called the Tomcat? Or this ship's called the Tomcat class? That reminds me, I've got a piece of music that works perfectly for what we're doing here. This is from Meteor's album, Defender of the Fleet, a companion to the Heatblur DCS F-14 module. And it is an absolute banger. Oh, come on, come on, come on. Sparrows are out. Here we go. Warhead impact confirmed. Looks like we got 5 of them. Looks like we took out 5 of them. PD guns only have to worry about 6 missiles. That's actually really good. Okay, get the PD systems ready to go. Let's open fire, open fire, open fire. Lasers are active. 1 down, 2 down, 3 down, 4. This is also, I should say real quickly, the lasers that I'm using on these ships are brutally excessive compared to the stock lasers. Even the most powerful stock lasers can't touch this thing, with maybe one exception, and that's because I haven't compared them. These are operating in the extreme ultraviolet range. Effectively, these might be X-ray these might be firing off X-ray beams, which explains how they're able to work at such insane ranges. Hellfire drones. Well, those won't last particularly long. Also, I just realized I forgot to turn the Sparrow launcher back on. Oh well, we got plenty of other point defense to work with. Firing off. Vulcans engage. Lasers are engaging. Enemy has opened fire with their cannons. Try and get shots off before they're intercepted. Okay. Bonk. 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 Okay. Yep, they're going down. 8 left. Again, we're gonna start bursting off the PD railguns again, just to try and get more fire out, take them out quicker. It shouldn't matter too much. We're not gonna take that much damage from it, but it will be useful nonetheless. Oh god, that's actually oof. Ugh. Seizure warning. I am terribly sorry about that. Ba-na-na-na-na. Ba-ba-da. Ba-na-ba-da-ba-da-ba. Ba-na-na-na-na. Oh, watch them go down. Watch them go down. Holy shit. 9 down already. We're down to 11. Let's see how long it takes for them to get rid of these. It takes to get rid of these. 1, 10, 11. Get out of that so we don't have to flash. 12, 14. That leaves 6 to go. 15. 5 left. They just die. Holy shit. Like, I forgot. I keep saying that this ship is better than anything the game has stock. But sometimes it just reminds you. I'm just reminded how much better. They can't even touch me. This is disgusting. Okay, their decoys are out, but we have effectively saturated. Oh god, the frames are dying. The frames are dying. The frames are dying. Okay, the frames are back. Frames are back. Frames are back. Looks like we may have fired off too many. Okay, have we done any meaningful damage with that? Didn't do a damn thing with that, did we? Ugh. Ugh. Okay, so first, initiate that warhead so it doesn't fly off and just make frame rate chug. We're actually gonna bring ourselves in closer now. Watch the slaughter. This is not even gonna be remotely fair. Watch this shit. It's gonna be disgusting. It's gonna be absolutely disgusting, Cookhouse. Go. Those for now. Disable the missile launchers because otherwise they'll cause all kinds of. Besides, tomahawk launchers are out of ammo, so it doesn't matter. Pull these up. Pull these up. Pull the lasers up, and watch the fury. Go with. No, we're gonna replay this just because it's so fitting for a ship called Tomcat. Watch them die. Watch them die. Because here's the thing. We have so many advantages here that it's not even funny. We have the advantage of muzzle velocity. We have the advantage of range. We have far superior point defense firepower to anything they're launching at us. Anything they have. Holy shit. The green tracers are just killing my frame rate. Oh, okay. We have to pause for a minute. Just let things catch up. Turn off that ignore range command. Probably gonna help our frame rate at least a little bit. Oh my god, it's chugging so hard. This is amazing. Just look at how the frame rate is dying. This is hardly even the most intense ship I have in the game that I've designed. It's just that for some reason, I guess with all the shit that's flying out, the game can't handle it. And so this is incredible. Look at them go. Okay, what are we looking at here on this is the fleet carrier? That thing is having a real bad day. What about the Corvette? Corvette is getting raked. I know what okay, they've opened fire on us. Looks like Tactical decided to prioritize the carrier, which makes sense, but still, oh my god. Good lord. Look at the frame rate dies. And look how, despite everything, all they've been able to do is knock off modules. They haven't actually been able to do meaningful damage to this nose cone. That's how good of an armor array this is. But as long as we keep our nose pointed at them, we are effectively invincible. Oh. Bad. This is really weird. Just watching their frame rate explode. Every time we unpause the engagement, it chugs so badly. It's amazing. na 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 we go. Oh my god. The frame rate is dying. It is absolutely dying. This is insane. What have we done? What have we done? We've created a monster. Oh my god. Just look at them go though. It's like the tracers are flying out everywhere, and we're about to make it worse again because we're going to reactivate the PD guns, which is going to drive the frame rate down even more. Here we go. PD guns are up and... Oh, wait. How did that make the frame rate better? How did that make the frame rate better? I am confused. I am confused and scared. I'm not going to ask too many questions because I probably don't want to know the answer to why this worked. Oh, boy. So, once this is done, I'll actually take the opportunity to show you what it is about this ship that makes it so effective. Because what makes this ship so utterly disgusting and how it's able to just shred, how it's able to just take on this whole fleet as one ship and win is a combination of really, really good fundamental engineering concepts that I admittedly learned through trial and error, but I did have a reference point to work with. So basically this ship, but I will explain actually the theory behind how this ship's nose cone works. It's a combination of two ideas. One is spaced armor. The other is non-explosive reactive armor. And what that means is here's how non-explosive reactor armor works. So reactive armor works by having typically a three-layer sandwich. Two outer plates sandwiched around a center material, which then expands violently when force is applied to it by an enemy projectile. In explosive reactive armor, that middle substance is, as you can guess, an explosive. However, in non-explosive reactive armor, other materials are used, one of the most common being some form of rubber. The rubber takes the energy of the projectile impacting and then turns that into heat or some other type of energy, which causes it to rapidly and violently expand, pushing the two outer plates apart and feeding new material into the projectile coming in. This means that as the projectile comes in, it suffers internal stresses and is deflected away, making its effect weaker as it continues to feed into this reactive armor array. On top of that, space armor creates other new and interesting effects as well. One of those being the introduction of lateral stress that the projectile doesn't particularly enjoy. Oh my god, look at it. It's like a fucking rave party. You've got green and blue and then just red tracers all coming around like that. And by the way, yes, all of these are tracers. Every single one of those is a projectile that is glowing. They are... Oh, shit. Look at it go, look at it go, look at it go. Okay, looks like we've taken out the cutter. That leaves the Corvette and the fleet carrier. Well, the question now is, which one's going to die first? Let's go take on the Corvette. Oh, yeah, the Corvette's definitely going to die first. And once that's done, then it's just a question of how long it's going to take for us to mop up that fleet carrier. And that's going to be a fun one to see. So, okay. Okay, no, we haven't taken care of the Corvette yet. It's still up. It's still running. Getting its weapons stripped away, but it's going to take a little bit more than that to kill the damn thing. Okay. I know what we're going to put on. Just because, again, this is, this is going to be a bit of a shit post, but I think you'll understand why I'm putting this on. Average stock ship fan. Average custom ship enjoyer. Okay, looks like the Corvette's down. Just gotta mop up the fleet carrier now. Can't hear the silence. Can't see the dark. Can't fix the broken. Can you feel?
Incoming transmission.
And that takes care of overkill. One ship versus a whole fleet. And I think that will do it for us for tonight. We have tonight we managed to kill an entire fleet with one ship. And on top of that, we didn't even have to use anything particularly crazy. The Tomcat is actually one of the more modest ships I've designed. I didn't have to break out it wouldn't let me, but I didn't have to break out the Rapier or the Guam or the Hoplite or the Orca, all of which are much more exotic ships that we might be seeing in the future. But for now, we're going to go off and watch an elf do unspeakable things to a great unclean one, creating what he calls the Great Clean One. I think you know who I'm talking about, Dusk. We're going to go say hello to Halbernacht, the elf, and see just how much of an abomination he is making. In the meantime, and here's the raid message. Nuke hits right. Oh, is he? Is he doing a... Oh my God, he is! He is doing an April Fool's thing! Even better! Even better! I thought he was painting the Great Clean One. This is even better! But yes, let's go and give Hal a warm welcome for me, won't you?